Hello and welcome to Six Part. Today I'm gonna start a new series. What if Deku was trained by forgotten gods? Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and watch more videos like this. Subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Your son is quirkless, I'm sorry, responded the doctor. I was completely shocked by the statement. I started crying and dropped the All Might statue I was holding. However, I had no idea that was the beginning of torment for me. I turned to see my sister jumping with excitement as she was informed that she had inherited her parents' quirks, which allowed her to speed up and gain more strength, Dad, and a telekinesis quirk that was stronger than her mother's. Here is exactly how her quirk works. The doctor started. Izumi Midoriya, age 4, quirk. Telepath's strength. She can lift up to 10 tons but at 10 tons only for 3 seconds. She can lift 1 ton for 3 hours, 2 for 2.75 hours, 3 for 2.25, 4 for 1.5 hours, 5 for an hour, 6 for 35 minutes, 7 for 10 minutes, 8 for 1 minute, 9 for 35 seconds, and 10 for 3 seconds. I know the slope is all over the place, but that's what the reading says. The strength comes in with her ability to enhance her speed and strength by 2 for 1 hour or 5 for 5 minutes. She can only do 2 or 5 times stronger though, and this part of her quirk cannot be improved by training. Mom just cared that her daughter would grow up to be a great hero, and she didn't care that I was crying or that I was envious of my younger sister by the time the doctor was finished. After they spent some time celebrating together, she approached me and inquired about my well-being. I pretended to grin and assured them not to worry about me. It appeared that she noticed that I was lying through my teeth. We thanked the doctor as we departed after she checked to make sure I was feeling a little better. Hey honey, what are the kids' quirks? Our father said when we returned home. Well, Izuku is quirk lesson, was Mom's response. The statement, I have a telepathy and strength enhancement quirk combined into one, was interrupted by Izumi. Well, that's terrific Izumi, but Izuku, how you holding up? Thanks to Mom, I'm feeling a bit better. Okay, well, just hold on. Okay. I was instantly let down when I got upstairs since I knew that being a hero was probably out of the question. I heard about the capture of a villain by Eraserhead on the radio in my room. I thought, I can beat them up like Eraserhead and become a hero without a quirk. I started training diligently the next month. I didn't realize it at the time, but my parents started to ignore me and give my sister more of their time. After 2 weeks of exercise, I was able to run 1/4 kilometer without stopping, perform 30 push-ups, squats, mountain climbers, and maintain a plank for 15 seconds. I then purchased 5-pound body weights to strengthen my ankles and wrists. A 10-pound vest, too. I worked the remainder of the month to be able to wear those clothing to school and still work out. My parents moved into full neglect mode after the following month. They stopped supporting me when I needed it, refused to acknowledge my work, refused to cook for me, and wouldn't even talk to me. Izumi and Kachan started bullying me throughout this month once they realized how strong she truly was. I discovered that I would be on my own after the complete neglect began. I initially merely ate leftovers, but after I ate their lunch for the following day, my parents became upset with me. In order to purchase inexpensive meals from restaurants, clothing, and weights, I subsequently began taking on odd jobs. Skip 5 months in time. I uttered, stop Kachan. According to him, or what Deku, I had just interrupted an incident in which Kachan was harassing a young girl. Because of his might, he was cruel to others, and I couldn't bear it. I hurried to keep the girl safe. She wore her hair in a ponytail and was black. And she had onyx-colored eyes. When Kachan chose to attack her, she was only looking about while wearing a blouse and some tan shorts. My response was, I'll stop you. Well, let's see it. I lost, as you may imagine. However, I managed to land a couple of blows. At this point, I had 30 pounds on my vest underneath my shirt and 20 pounds on each ankle and wrist. However, I had no idea how to fight. The female asked me if I was okay after I lay there for about 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm fine, I responded, leaping to my feet. Okay, good. Thanks for what you did. My name is Momo Yayarozu, she replied. My name is Izuku Yagi. But call me Izuku. I'm not the biggest fan of my last name, I mumbled. I thought, OMG, I'm speaking to a girl. Okay Izuku, thanks again. And do you want to be friends? She inquired. Sure, I replied. Okay she began. A woman called and said, Momo, it's time to leave. She turned to face me and said, thanks again, see you later, after responding, okay mom coming. She fled after that, and I went back to my room to wash my face and arms by myself, once more. Depression warning, skip second paragraph if uncomfortable, time skip 10 years. I trained non-stop for those 10 years, and now I have 12 tons on my wrists and ankles and 15 more on my vest. To avoid upsetting Bakugo, I concealed my strength. 3 years ago, when I had just begun learning karate, I stopped calling him Kachan. I excelled at karate, but I would go on to learn several forms of taijutsu. Despite my strength, I was despondent and stopped expressing emotion when I was being bullied or tormented because of the neglect, agony, and self-sacrifice. But since no one would listen, I kept it a secret. It's time to consider your future plans, the teacher added at that point. It doesn't matter, you all want to be heroes, right? Everyone in the class let their eccentricities run wild. Fools. Settle down, you know you're breaking a law, right? Hey teach, don't lump me in with these extras, at best they'd end up as a sidekick to some D-lister. Izumi and Bakugo screamed, we're going to UA and you can't stop us. Then there was a little growl from the entire class. Saying, got a problem, Izumi? Yeah, Izumi and I passed all the mock tests and training courses for youth from UA, concluded Bakugo. The teacher teasingly said, okay, wait, didn't you also apply for Ueizuku? With the exception of Bakugo, my sister Izumi, and myself, the entire class burst out laughing. You really think they would let a quirkless runt like you in keep dreaming, Deku? Bakugo replied. Izumi remarked, yeah, you have no chance. I was enraged by this. However, my lack of emotion in response to their remarks made them even more irate. Izumi exclaimed, the hell nerd. Why can't I pick you up? Never mind, I'll just deal with you the hard way, as she rushed up and smacked me in the face when she was unable to use her telekinesis to pull me up. In order to avoid drawing attention to myself, I moved with her punch while pretending to be harmed, and the reason for this was that I had a surprise waiting for them in the gym. Since today was the last day of classes, we would face a final skills test to determine our standing in the class. I was going to demonstrate my true abilities to them today. However, Bakugo had the audacity to state, you know there is a way to get a quirk, prior to that. The idea made my eyes light up a little, but not much. He began by saying, just take a swan dive off the roof. Izumi concluded by saying, and pray for a quirk in your next life. Skip the gym class. Okay, so we have our gym class today. First up, Katsuki Bakugo, the winner of the previous tests. In a minute, we will begin the push-ups. Izumi received 30, Bakugo received 29, while the remaining students received about 15. Okay Izuku, you're up. Hey coach, mind if I take off my weights? Sure. Despite my gentle placement, they cracked and destroyed the floor. The fact that the cement was now shattered by some weights shocked the entire class. Even the coach was staring at the ground. As they stared, I positioned myself. Hey, you gonna start or what? I replied. He responded, oh yeah, sorry about that, and began. I didn't do anything for the first 30 seconds. When the countdown reached 30 seconds, I then began performing my push-ups. The timer sounded, beep beep beep. I remarked, shit, only got 292 shit. Once more, the entire class was taken aback when I broke the global and Japanese records. The previous record, set during the pre-quirk era, was 257 push-ups in a minute. Bakugo screamed, how the hell did you do that, Deku? You're quirkless, Izumi said. If the entire class can lift one of those weights together, I'll tell you, I interrupted. You're on, they said. After 10 minutes Izumi remarked, I can't lift it. Use your quirk. I attempted. You can't lift it then either. After attempting, she questioned why she was unable to. I went over and used my thumb and index finger to grab them all. Wow, you can't even lift something this light, yet you still think so lowly of me. When I began, each of these is 12 tons. The vest is 15 tons. These are the school weights I wear so I don't break the building when I'm out running, working out, or even just outside. I'm wearing twice that weight, and yes, I'm still quirkless. I've been working out like this since I got back from the quirk examiner 10 years 7 months ago. I've been holding back since I was 6.5 from these exams, but seeing as this is the last one before UA, I thought I'd show you my real strength as a treat. And revenge. Izumi. Bakugo, the last time you hurt me with your bullying was 3 years ago. Since then I faked being hurt to stop drawing attention to myself. And since you all neglected me my whole life, you didn't look to see how much muscle I actually had. Thank you. Now let's continue. For every test, I broke records. I broke the grip test, 1-ton limit, and completed the 50-meter dash in 4.15 seconds, the long leap in 67 meters, the side steps in 100, the ball throw in 115 meters, and the 250 toe touches. Azumi's parents chuckled at the joke when she informed them about the physical examination that evening. After some time, though, Dad wanted to talk to Izumi, so I listened. I stated she should get his quirk because she deserved it after witnessing my dad transform into my hero. My breaking point was when she accepted. I wrote a letter that evening stating, "Hi there, Mr. and Mrs. Yagi," together with my alleged sister. First of all, given that you haven't given me any attention in over a decade, I'm shocked that you are reading this. However, I should note that green telic and all might have made my life quite difficult. There are bandages in my closet if you check inside. You want to know who donated those to me? Katsuki Bakugo and your daughter. You still wish to give Izumi your peculiarity, which is pitiful. Know that you have won. I tried to improve in school by strengthening myself to combat my weakness of not having any quirks, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Just be aware that your son is no longer with you. Your deceased relative, Izuku. I was staring down that night as I made my way to the school building. I reasoned that at least this horror will end. However, I was stopped shortly after by a middle-aged man. "Hey, Izuku. Don't do what you're about to do," he said. I grabbed you. First, how do you know my name? Second, what do you mean what I'm about to do? I was just on a stroll. And finally, with what you're implying, what right do you have? You don't know what kind of hell I've lived. I know your name because I am God, but more commonly known as King, he continued. I know every human being on this planet and can view their memory as if it was my own. The only thing I can't control is who's getting a baby that freedom was given to humans. Izuku chuckled. If you were God, you wouldn't talk to me. I'm a quirkless kid, and wouldn't you be like glowing or something? I am God, I'll prove it, he continued, pressing his thumb to my forehead. He explained to him how he made the earth, how he had lived, and how he had seen every creature come and go. In 0.5 seconds, he showed him millions of years. Okay, I believe you now. Why do you want to talk with me? I said. Well, I want you to come train with me. You have 10 months till the UA exams. In that time you will get 20 years of training if you come with me, he replied. But why me? Because you have lasted 10.5 years of bullying and neglect and still trained for your goal and even became strong enough to resist those tragedies. But then when someone had a way to give you what you lacked and you knew them, they decided to give it to someone who already had the power you were pushed over the edge. I believe you are the strongest-willed person on this earth to ever live. Okay. One last thing. I begin. How will I get 20 years of training in 10 months? I will transport you to a realm that 2 years there is 1 month here. Alright, let's get going. King glanced at me as he opened a doorway. I responded with a nod and proceeded to. I was standing on a glass platform that was floating in midair as I entered the portal. 4 areas were located below. A pre-quirk New York City with some building modifications, a forest with a village nearby, a small city block with a police station, a house, and a small forest nearby, and, finally, an area with a single, enormous building that was 250 stories high and a small house next door. God asked, "You like what you see?" after I had been looking for a while and turned to face him. "Yay." He yells, "Now let me get your trainers," and 8 figures emerge behind him. All 8 figures say, "Hey King," simultaneously. King declares, "Izuku, these are your trainers." Figure 3 states, "What happened to him?" King then goes on to demonstrate to them the terrible treatment he had throughout the final 10.5 years of his life and the suffering he endured. And how he was deceived by his own father. "Sorry kid, that's rough, but we all have had our fair share of troubles, but yours takes the cake," according to figure 7. "Damn, I thought I had it rough. My name is Naruto Uzumaki," figure 1 says. According to figure 2, Sasuke Uchiha. "Hello, I'm Gon Free CSS, as shown in figure 4. "Hey, I was supposed to go first. Anyway, Kahlua, nice to meet you," according to figure 3. "I apologize, I was ecstatic," Free CSS responds. According to figure 5, Light Yagami, L, says the curled up figure 6. According to figure 7, Tony Stark. According to figure 8, Peter Parker. "Okay King, who's starting?" Yagami queries. "You and L will teach him what you can about strategy. You're the best I know." King begins. Once he learns strategy, he will go to Gon and Kahlua to learn how to fight and fight with Nen. Also, no need to teach him the strength. He's wearing 63 tons of weight right now. After that is over, you will head to Sasuke and Naruto to learn about Chakra and turn that into elemental energy. Finally, you will end with Stark and Peter here, who will teach you about gadgets so you can make your own equipment. Also call everyone by their first name except for Stark. Izuku," explained King. Light says, "Okay, Izuku, follow me." Light starts telling his story about how he obtained the Death Note as soon as they reach the little city block region. After explaining, he told me that in order to avoid suspicion if he was being hunted, he needed to learn how to create traps and a ton of false leads. When it was L's turn to speak, he described how he found Light Yagami and the reasons behind his defeat. He stated that if you are the hunter, you should always be cautious and look past any false leads. He also stated that even those who have been declared innocent can be guilty, so you should always be on guard. The plan for his training path and how he will learn to strategize maneuvers better than anyone else in his world are explained once they have finished answering Izuku's inquiries. First year. During the first 6 months, Light teaches Izuku how to build up several false leads in a single move to shift the blame away from him. L spent the remainder of the year teaching him how to follow all the leads at once in order to identify the true offender and how to plan if it is necessary to separate guys in order to do so. Years 2 and 3, Light spent the following 2 years teaching Izuku how to create obstacles for his opponent to fall into, detect concealed security features, and identify blind spots in his second year. He learned how to create basic security traps in his third year to keep anyone from discovering what he was hiding. He then showed him how to arrange several layers in a limited area so that it can only be discovered in one method, and if they make a mistake, they can search the area without raising any red flags. Years 4 and 5, It was now L's turn to teach Izuku how to play cat and mouse as the hunter. He taught him how to analyze the unanalyzable in his 4th year. He showed him how to determine one's identity based on one's actions and senses. He learned how to effectively narrow down a search by utilizing their emotions and areas against them during the 5th year with Light and L. Additionally, he instructed them on how to recognize a new player by their subtle behavioral changes. End of the 5th year. Izuku had expressed his gratitude to Light and L for their assistance. King made an appearance on his last day, escorting L and Light to their afterlife to spend the remainder of their lives there. God said that instead of receiving a death note or having to play cat and mouse very frequently, he would learn from them and use that knowledge to create foolproof ways to thwart any criminals who might want to harm them. Following the explanations and farewells, King escorted Izuku to the tower area, where he met Gon and Killua. I encountered Gon and Killua when I entered the tower area. They were there to educate me about an inner aura that all people possess and that I could activate as soon as they mentioned that I was struck in the back and a white mist appeared all around me. Now imagine that steam circling calmly around your body, Killua wrote. I closed my eyes and visualized the feeling of the white mist slowly and peacefully around my body. When I opened my eyes, I saw that the aura was acting exactly as I had envisioned. Both Gon and Killua explained how Nen operates and that this is the first of 4 stages for the fundamentals. First year I was instructed on how to use Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu throughout my first year with Gon and Killua. I learned and became proficient in Ten and Zetsu after a month. It took me several months to become proficient in Ren and Gyo after that. I suppose I'm an enhancer like Gon since after I done that, I went up to see what Hatsu I had. Years 2 and 3 in my second year with Gon and Killua, I learned how to use items more quickly by putting my aura into them and learning stuff like Ko and Ken. In my third year, I learned Ryu and how to concentrate on my Nen in a single area. I soon gained enough momentum to overwhelm opponents by using my speed, and Killua showed me how to employ the rhythm step. Years 4 and 5 I should learn to create my own approach that would work for my Nen after training with Gon and Killua said. Since I'm well versed in strength and combat, I made the decision during the first month of my training to study how to improve my Nen's speed and strength as well as my natural defenses. I learned what I call full cowling for the remainder of my 4th year. I use my aura to power my body to the fullest extent possible, enhancing it to the point where I could travel from one end of Japan to the other in 3 minutes. I concentrated on mastering basic attacks, controlling my Nen power percentage to avoid doing too much damage, and powering up specific body parts more than the others during my 5th year. Training's end these 5 years have been amazing, and I've learned how to tenfold my power and am now able to fight with Nen thanks to my brother Killua and Gon. I cried when I said goodbye because I had been very close to them over the past few years. When I thanked them and told that I would always be grateful for their generosity, Gon and Killua said, "Just beat my dad's ass when I go home," to which I nodded. Actual world Inko and Toshinori have yet to locate the letter from Izuku that he left 5 months ago due to neglect, but Mitsuki stopped by and inquired about Izuku and Izumi's well-being. They replied that Izumi was doing well and that they were unsure of Izuku's whereabouts. Then both parents realized what poor parents they were. I've been a terrible mother. I can't even recall what Izuku looked like since he was 4 years old. Inko began to cry. In order to check on Izuku, Toshi then began to go to his chamber upstairs, only to discover an empty room with a message on his desk. horrible wall damage, and the stench of rotten blood. "Inko, come up here now, we have a serious problem about Izuku and Izumi," says Toshinori. When Mitsuki arrived after they had read the note, she slapped them both in the head, called them garbage, and warned them not to expect the youngster to forgive them if they ever found him. She immediately rushed home and gave Katsuki the pounding of his life for his bullying. Toshi and Inko were both furious with Izumi when he returned home. When she acted like a saint in front of them after bullying his brother, she was shown the letter and thrashed. "Why, it's not like you cared about him for 10 years, she replied. "And we have both accepted the punishment and have decided to look for him till we find him dead or alive," replied they. They called the police and told them everything, even the years they had ignored their son. Angry with them, Detective Tsukachi agreed to assist them in their search and informed them that they were no longer entitled to refer to Izuku as their child or as their parent. Sasuke and Naruto, they learned about their planet, the Fourth Great Ninja War, and the functioning of chakra from Naruto and Sasuke. He explained to them that the absence of a divine tree is the reason it isn't present on your world, as, in the event that it existed, they would have had a link to nature that would have allowed them to control the spiritual energy of chakra. They both gave Izuku a small amount of each of their chakras to instruct him. However, he had a complete 3-tomo Sharingan and a chakra pool about as large as Naruto's. When this happened, they handed him the chakra testing paper to determine what style he would employ. It turned out that he had an aptitude for wind and lighting style, but no Kekkei Genkai with a blend of those two. First year, both Naruto and Sasuke taught Naruto the fundamentals of jutsu, which include summoning jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, tried clone jutsu but never succeeded, and transformation jutsu. Since the toads wanted Izuku to summon them and the snakes and hawks didn't really want to do so, he had struck a deal with the toads. Additionally, Izuku was able to call forth Gamakichi and Gamakatsu, who do pay attention to him. Additionally, he learned how to counter and dodge with the 3-tomo Sharingan to the fullest extent possible. Years 2 and 3, Izuku received training from Sasuke during their second year together, acquired the M's, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and learned how to make the most of the Susanoo. Additionally, he learned how to perform basic lightning-style juts and wield a sword. He learned how to employ Chidori and Sasuke's power to make it go via his blade or through the earth during his third year. Additionally, Kamui and Amaterasu, his other M's talents, were taught to him. At last, Sasuke taught him how to employ the fire control technique to control his Amaterasu. Years 4 and 5, Izuku learned the remaining fundamentals from Naruto during his fourth year, including how to walk on water, climb trees, and other skills. After that, Naruto taught him the Rasengan, which he learned in 3 months. In addition, he acquired flying regime and the Gale Palm method. Naruto had taught Izuku his sexy jutsu and sage mode during his final year. He took 10 months to learn this, and when his allotted time was almost up, he chose to attempt using Susanoo and sage jutsu together, and by the end of the 12 months, he had perfected it. Farewells. Izuku had bid farewell to Sasuke and Naruto, who were like father figures to him, yet he never had them. They were both wonderful, and he will truly miss them. "When you go back, prove the world wrong," was the final thing Naruto and Sasuke told him before he went. Actual world Toshinori and Inko's neglect of their son still infuriated Officer Tsukachi. Reminding everyone that he was once quirkless, he should have checked on him because his situation is worse than everyone else's, because even fewer people are quirkless these days, so he had to endure more agony than Toshinori did when he was Izuku's age. When Ua learned, both heroes' incomes were slashed in half, and they were punished for a week to teach them not to treat their children disrespectfully. Since there has been no indication of the body for 2.5 months, the authorities are now questioning if the death was suicide or if he was fleeing. Since no one was present and their dead son meant they were now dead to Izuku, they came to the conclusion that it was a runaway. Tony Stark and Peter Parker. "Okay kid, I'm here to teach you how to make your own gadgets for your own good, and how to understand how everything works," Stark said. I answered, "Okay, Mr. Stark, and I'm here to help you after Mr. Stark's lecture and help you with chemistry so you can make your own compounds," Peter replied. Years 1 of 5, during his whole stay, Stark and Peter gave him lectures on how the equipment operated and how to create his own concoctions using Parker's ingredients. By the time he was finished, he had made his own hero outfit, a laser sword, which was essentially a lightsaber with a sword shape, and a compound of metal alloy for a cape-shaped capture gear that could reach a distance of 50 meters and was stronger than Eraserhead's. Does not use a helmet, instead, he wears a green cape on the back and a mouth guard similar to those seen in anime and manga. It's time to return. He is taken back up to the glass pillar where he met all 8 of them and enjoyed the most amazing 20 years of his life after saying goodbye to Stark and Peter. Now before we go back I have some gifts for you from each of your mentors plus a one from me, said King. Really? I inquired. He responded, yes, now from Light you were given the pen that he used at the start of his journey, from L you were given a new name Izuku Lunar. Izuku started crying at this point because he was so relieved that his violent family no longer had to know him. The king continued after Izuku recovered. From Gon, you were given a ring from Greed Island, from Kahlua you were given a hunter's license from their world, from Naruto, he gave you a ninja headband, and Sasuke gave you a sword made of chakra metal, Asuma's hand kunai's metal. From Peter, you were given a box of bracelets that will let you communicate with anyone whose bracelet you're wearing, however you can only use one once per day. And finally Mr. Stark gave you a mansion not far out from Musutafu, Japan on the cliffside with a Lamborghini Aventador, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan all paid off with a driver's license for you. After learning all of this, he was extremely grateful and asked the monarch if he might personally thank each of them in a letter. The king consented. Now Izuku, I am sorry for everything that you were put through as a child, and now I would like to give you a quirk. This quirk will allow you to heal from the brink of death in seconds and heal others from the brink of death in seconds. The drawback is that the bigger the injury the longer the wait. Life-threatening can use once every 48 hours. Life-threatening but not brink of death every 24 hours. Severe damage non-life-threatening every 18 hours. A broken bone or two every 20 minutes. And finally minor damage no wait. Also you will be given a debit card that will deposit 1 million yen into its account on the first of every month, and all the bills will be paid without using the money deposited to your account that will be covered by yours truly, King says. After staring at King for 30 minutes without believing a word he says, Izuku replies that he doesn't deserve this and thanks him for everything. Just one favor though, King replies, cutting off Izuku's, kick All Might's ass. Gladly. Mr. Stark has dropped me off at my new residence. It takes roughly 10 minutes to travel to Musutafu from here, and 30 minutes to drive to UA. However, I prefer it this way, alone, so I don't have to worry about other people ruining it. I registered with UA the day I arrived, and since the test is in 3 days, I wrote down my true quirk without yet disclosing my nen or chakra. I took my Lambo and made the decision to call Uncle Shoto to let him know how I was doing. Since I didn't know that I was being searched for, I assumed my parents were still oblivious that I was missing. Go back in time to Uncle Shota's place. It's 12 p.m., and since he typically wakes up at 11, I should be fine. I rang the doorbell, pounded on the door, and waited for a while. His eyes widen for a moment as the door opens. Hey Uncle Shish, I say. A hug interrupted me. You know you've been missing for 5 months now, right? He inquires. I respond, actually it's been 10 months, they just didn't notice till 5 months ago. Those damn bastards, how do they not know their kid has been missing for months? Aizawa's perspective, I had just finished eating breakfast and got ready for the day when I heard a knock on the door. My nephew, who had been missing for 5 months, was standing directly in front of me when I opened it. I recognized him as soon as he said, hello, and I gave him a firm embrace. He claimed it was 10, but they didn't find out until 5 months after I informed him he had been missing for 5 months. When they failed to discover one of their children gone for 5 months, I became enraged. When I invited him inside, we struck up a conversation, and he told me about his 20 years of training in a separate world that was only 10 months away from here. That means that 2 years on that planet were equivalent to 1 month here, and 365 days are equivalent to 15 days there. So kid, where are you staying now? I inquire. He says, oh, want me to show you? Sure, I need to get out of here sooner or later. Great, well then text Midnight and Nezu and Mike to meet at this address and I'll take you there in my ride. I ask, not understanding what he meant. What ride? After taking out the keys to a Lamborghini and a driver's license, he shows me this stunning vehicle, unlocks it, and instructs me to get into the passenger seat. He told me it was a present from Mr. Stark when I jumped in and asked where he obtained the money. We've driven outside of Musutafu for 10 minutes or so. After 20 minutes, when he pulls into a remote lane and drives in to view his enormous home. God damn, I exclaim. I know it's too much, but it is better than living with my parents. So are you planning on signing up for UA? Already did? But I didn't see your name. Ah right, I forgot I legally changed my name to Izuku Lunar. Oh, I did see that one. So you have a healing quirk. That is my only quirk, yes. Good luck against those robots. Those won't be a problem. How? Chakra, Nen? I ask, the what and what? You will learn when we take the practical exam on Tuesday. At that moment, Midnight, Nezu, and Mike arrive at the house, uncertain if it is the correct one. Izuku responded, you mind bringing them in? I want to surprise them. Sure, I said. He yells, just bring them to the dining hall. Okay, I answer. Hey Namori, Nezu, Hizashi, is what I say when I call them inside. Hizashi utters, whoa dude, didn't know you were loaded. Midnight asks, y'all, aren't you an underground hero? With your current wages, there should be no way you got enough for the Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, and the house, Nezu says. No, this isn't mine, it's a friend of mine's, I respond. Whoa, that's hot, exclaims Midnight. I respond, he's underage. When Hizashi asks, then how'd they score this? I don't know, ask him yourself, I respond. Now let's get going, he's waiting in the dining room. Izuku Lunar, I've got the guests, I respond. Great. Hizashi queries, now why does that voice sound familiar? No way, Midnight says. Izuku is seated there brewing tea when the four of them enter. To be sure it's not a dream, they massage their eyes and blink a few times. Well, sit down, I'll bring you all some tea. Where have you been the past 5 months? Nezu inquires. 10 and I'll tell you over tea, that's why I asked you guys to come, replies Izuku. I had the same reaction when he came to my apartment, I replied. Midnight asks, wait, how long have you known? I knew 32 minutes 15 seconds before I texted you to meet at his place, replied I. Nezu questioned, wait, you said 10 months, Izuku, why? I ran away 10 months ago but my parents didn't notice till 5 months ago, that's how badly they neglected me. Midnight, Hizashi, and Nezu all choke on the tea. Wait, what, is their collective response? Alright, I'm about to tell you a long story that starts 10 months ago and 2 weeks earlier in this dimension. Having explained the previous 2 chapters Izuku's perspective, Izuku stated, so that's my story, when Midnight says, so wait, you haven't seen us in over 21 years. Yup. So will you explain this whole chakra and nen thing? Nezu begins, because it seems interesting. Yes, however, he'll do that after the entrance exam, Aizawa responded. Hizashi remarked, but submission time ended, and I already put my form in. According to Nezu, but I never saw it. You didn't see an Izuku Lunar. Each of the 3 said, I saw that one. Then you saw me, I responded, before you say anything just look at this. The legal name change documents I gave them included all the necessary information. Everyone was shocked to learn that I had changed my last name. They all wondered, how did you pull it off? Again, it was a gift from one of my senseis, I respond. Hizashi responds, oh, is there any other changes we should be aware of? Nezu inquires. I pulled out my driver's license and stated, I also already have a college-level skill in English, math, science, and history. There are 2 more things that you should be aware of, and it's this. Another curveball, comments Midnight. Indeed, Nezu responds. Nezu says, well, I suppose then we'll be off. Before you go, promise you won't tell Mr. and Mrs. Yagi, I'm asking. Deal, they all say. Aizawa says, okay, kid, I guess I gotta go too. He tosses me the Lambo keys and says, okay, here. You can use it till Tuesday, I reply. Exam for timeskip entrance. I must admit that when I arrived, I was a little let down by how simple the written exam was. Aizawa was entering when I completed in 10 minutes, checked for the following minute, turned in my packet, and left. He questioned, shouldn't you be examining? I finished, I answered. Nodding, Aizawa begins working. Oh okay, skip ahead in time to introduce Mike's interruption. I have a question, sir, a child with blue hair replies. On the packet it says there are 4 robots left and on the screen, it says there are only 3. Also, the green-haired boy in the back, why are you sleeping now? If you were here to screw around then you should leave. I was angry so I replied, if you read the goddamn packet you would have noticed it is a 0-pointer and is just an obstacle, no need to fight it, and Uncle Mike was just about to explain that. Also, if you have enough time to check if I'm asleep or not then you are also not paying attention, so take that stick up your ass out and sit down. Knowing that the child was perfectly capable of speaking the truth, he immediately sat down in embarrassment and shame. We were transferred to city blocks after President Mike went over the 0-pointers once more. I was assigned to Block C, where I met both my beautiful sister and the kid with the blue hair in my group. I mumbled, shit. I saw the door open at that moment and I started destroying robots right away. After 10 minutes, I decided to stop, even though I knew I had gained 207 villain points. After another hour of relaxing, I heard a rumble and saw the 0-pointers entering the mock city. I wasn't going to do anything, but then I noticed that someone was trapped beneath the debris, and the 0-pointers were going to crush her. Since everyone else was fleeing, I leapt to my feet and unleashed a massive Rasengan in Sage mode. bombarding the robot until only pieces of wire from the robot that had survived were left. Congratulations, young Lunar, on passing the exams. Your total points were 257, and you received 50 points for your heroic practice to save the girl in danger. The heroic points you received were a secret point system given by judges for heroic actions during the exams, said All Might in a letter I received from UA 2 days later. So I got in. What else is new? I asked myself. Before UA began, the following few days passed without incident. I got up and either went shopping for clothes or explored the city before returning home. All right, it's time to go to school. After grabbing the Rolls-Royce's keys, I left for school. The professors and students gave me a lot of looks when I pulled into the parking lot. Then, suddenly, one student began chanting, and the other pupils followed suit. When they said, "Daddy's money clap 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 calp," they repeated, X5. My dad neglected and didn't know I ran away till 5 months after my disappearance, so no, this is not his money, and my mom did the same, I said. Liar, declared the initial figure. I followed him through teleportation. My name is Izuku Lunar X, known as Izuku Yagi. Do you believe me now? Look at the missing person file when you can. I'll be in class 1A, by the way. That's a nice quirk, I'll just use it myself. He began. My name's Nato Monoma. Wait, you have a healing quirk, so how do you teleport? I didn't, but then how you don't have a speed quirk? Training. Whatever, I'll still be better than you class 1A scum. I believed I was going to my class when I entered the building. The school turns out to be even larger than it appears. And my estate is at least 5 times smaller than the school. Instead of 1A, I ended up in 3A, where I met 3 people with quite diverse personalities. One was antisocial, one had no filter and would ask questions quickly, and one would just try to joke around and have a good chat. Later, I found out that they were the top 3 students in UA thus far. The joker was Mirio Tagata, the no-filter girl was Najire Hato, and the antisocial one was Tamaki Amajiki. They gave me directions to the classroom, and just before I entered, I heard, "Shut up for eyes. That is very disrespectful to this school, so take your feet off the desk." As soon as I opened the door, I recognized the two as Bakugo and the blue-haired student from the test. I then turned to see the girl I had saved, and at last I saw a girl with onyx eyes, a ponytail, and a bang on the side of her hair. Her appearance reminded me of someone I don't recall. When she saw me, she too began to look at me bewildered. Then I noticed my sister, and I instantly turned my head aside. I was about to go to my seat when the child with the blue hair approached me. He began, "Hello, my name is Tenya Iida. I'm sorry for my behavior at the entrance exam. I didn't even notice that there might be a secret part of the exam, but you figure." "No, I didn't know about that part of the exam. I just saw someone who needed help and helped them," I replied. I left and took a seat next to the girl who appeared to be familiar toward the back. "Do I know you?" I asked the young lady. "You look familiar, but I don't think I've met you, but then again I was away from this world for 20 years. "You look familiar. Wait, what do you mean 20 years? You couldn't have gotten in here if you're over the age of 18, she said. "Oh yeah, sorry, I went to a pocket dimension where 20 years in that world is 10 months in this world. I was taken via a villain BT then." King retorted, "Hey, you calling me a villain, kid? Wait, how'd you get here? Wait, never mind Yorigodzo, I guess you can go anywhere." Muttering intensifies. Slap. King responded, "Kid, you need to be more careful with your muttering." The girl asked, "What do you mean, God? And what do you mean, villain?" "And nothing," I replied. King vanished with it, causing her to become disorganized. While maintaining her prim and proper demeanor, she appeared to be struggling to understand everything. "Wait, that's not possible, Momo?" "Wait, is your name Momo Yaoyorozu?" I responded. She said, "Yes, wait, how do you know?" "Sorry, let me reintroduce myself. The name is Izuku Lunar." I begin. "I was there the day Bakugo was harassing you and I stopped him by being his punching bag." She remarked, "No way, it's you." "Yup," I replied. Bakugo glanced at the class, watching the competition, then turned back to face me and listened to my words. "Dekuuu, he remarked. Izumi looked around. My response is, "What do you want, Bakugo? How the fuck did a quirk-less bitch such as yourself get in?" With this, everyone in the class aside from Momo and the girl I rescued started staring at me strangely. Then everyone in the class began to ask questions. "Rasengan," I reply. "Do I look quirk-less, Bakugo? I know it's been 20 years but still." "Wait, 20 years?" The students cried. "Sorry, I meant 10 months, but it's been 20 years for me," I say. "Also, Bakugo, You couldn't even lift my weights 20 years ago, what makes you think you can lift mine now? He declared, I can do it. No, you can't. Back then I was wearing 12 tons on each wrist and ankle and 15 tons on my vest. Now I'm wearing 45 tons on each wrist and ankle and 52 tons on my vest. In fact, right now I'm moving my feet so fast the floor can't realize the weight I'm wearing so I don't fall through the floor. Show off. You started it. When I realize how much weight I'm wearing, the entire class looks on in amazement. Then they understood that I had to be moving quickly to avoid falling through the floor. So manly, you'll have to tell me how you train, a pupil replies. Oh yeah, my name is Eijiro Kirishima. Isn't it illegal to use your quirk in public? Iida inquires. I haven't shown anyone my quirk. My quirk is Heal Pulse. It lets me instantaneously heal someone even if they're on the brink of death. The drawback is the more serious the injury, the longer the cooldown, I say. So then what was that orb you made? Replied a blonde. My name is Denki Kaminari. That was the energy I pulled from myself to create that orb as you called it. Well, actually it's actually called a Rasengan, but anyways, I can also use the electrical energy here and wind energy and combine it with my own to create other moves, I say. And no, that is not a quirk. Izumi is able to regain her composure at that precise moment. It's hilarious when she begins to appear depressed. Then she is able to say something. She sobs, is that really you, brother? Yagi, I'm not your brother, I have not been for over 20 years, I respond. She cries, no. Bakugo assaults me, saying, Oi Deku, look what you did to your sister. She's crying now. Does a sister bully her brother? Huh? Does a best friend? Does a sister tell you to commit suicide? Does a sister make your life a living hell? Well? Oh, and what about parents? Do they neglect you for 10.5 because of a disadvantage? Do parents whoop you for eating food in the fridge cause you weren't allowed to eat dinner with them? Do parents make you eat out of the dumpster? Silence, you're silent now? They all turn to look at Bakugo and Izumi with contempt at this realization. They then introduce themselves after asking if I'm okay. I respond that I'm doing okay because it was a lifetime ago. Bakugo and Izumi were standing around me, just hanging their heads in defeat. After a week, they could regret what they did, but I doubt it. Wait, what did you mean 20 years ago? Todoroki said at that same moment. Yes. The others inquire. I go on to describe how I escaped 10 months ago and met a man named King. Through his quirk, he sent me to a pocket universe, where he and I trained for 20 years, since 2 years in that dimension is equivalent to 1 month in the actual world. So you've trained for 20 years in the last 10 months? Kirishima inquiries. Yeah, I respond, but before you say that's unfair, know that I believed I was quirkless before you discovered I had one, but before that I was tormented, mistreated, abandoned, and tortured. I was training to be the first quirkless hero, and when I left, I could lift a maximum of 20 tons and run 50 kilometers in an hour. Additionally, I could complete 1,000 push-ups in 2 minutes. And I was able to push myself further than any quirk hero, which is why I was able to go. No, I wouldn't say it's unfair, but damn, I need you to train me. I can barely bench 300 pounds and that's with my hardening, responds Kirishima. Some of the pupils were frightened when the sensei, wearing a sleeping sack, entered the room during this. Aizawa. If you're here to make friends, then you should leave, Aizawa says. Aizawa sensei remarks, you need to work on that because it took you 8 seconds to shut up. Do you really need to be that cruel, Uncle Sho? May I ask? He answered, yes, you really need to be quiet now. I know you've always wanted to test drive a sports car, so let me start by asking how my Lambo went. Was it to your liking? It was fun. Now shut up or I'll expel you. Good. Now everyone put on these and meet me outside for your quirk assessment exam, Uncle Shota remarked. Uraraka queries, but what about orientation? To have our hero course we remove parts of the school program that are deemed unnecessary, therefore you will be missing orientation, Aizawa clarifies. In the changing areas, Kirishima says, yo Lunar bro, you're ripped. Kaminari asks, yeah, how in the world did you obtain an 08 pack at the age of 14? Once more, my vest that I'm holding weighs 104,000 pounds, and each of my wrists and ankles has 45 tons, or 90,000 pounds, on each leg, I say. Oh yeah. Both of them sigh. Conversely, the girls all blushed as soon as they learned about Izuku's 8-pack. Their faces lit up at the mere thought of the green mop. They all hurried to get ready as soon as they realized what they were doing, only to discover the boys waiting outside. Let's get started now that everyone is here, says Aizawa. Telik and All Might started to go to Aizawa's practice field to watch the Lunar Kid and see what he did to earn so many points while this was happening. A green-haired child approached a circle for the ball throw as they got there. Can I do 2 throws, 1 quirk less one with my abilities? I then inquired. All right, Aizawa said, but your first throw is quirkless. Toshinori and Inko were perplexed, wondering why a child was willing to observe even if he wanted to throw the ball quirkless. All right, but first I'm removing these, I say. Boom! When he put all of his weights on the ground, a crater formed around each one. Bakugo asks, do you have to show off? I didn't mean to make the craters, I forgot how weak the ground is, it's not my fault, they're 45 tons each, I respond. Young man, you understand that using your quirk is prohibited unless authorized or until you obtain a license, All Might states. No way, All Might. Izumi, Bakugo, and I are the only ones who say. Mr. My quirk is an A-ranked healing quirk, not a strength quirk, as you can see from my registration form. If it were a quirk, Aizawa would have removed it when he instructed us to stop talking, destroying all of our quirks, I respond. How do you know my true name, young man? All Might AKS. How could I forget the man who was my father from ages 0 to 4, I say. My baby, sobs Telik. I say, avoiding her embrace, I haven't been your son in 30 years. All Might replies, how dare you treat your mother that way? When you refused to let me eat with you all and forced me to buy everything for myself aside from the house bills and other expenses, you ceased to be my parents, I say. My baby, where have you been the past 5 months? Telik cries. I left that hellhole 10 months ago, but clearly you don't care. If it took you half the time I was gone to realize, that just proves that you don't care. I respond bitterly. Izuku, you will return with us after school today, Almighty. I'm not your kid, I legally changed my identity, I legally own my own estate, and I legally drive my car, which is in the parking lot. I pull out my keys and license and throw them to him for inspection. Shut up and deflate already, Mr. Yagi. You lie, All Might says, you're not wealthy enough to buy a Rolls Royce. That was a gift from someone more of a dad than yo. His name was Mr. Stark, I respond. Also, my son, how did you get a license? You're not supposed to be able to start learning till you're 18 inches, he says. For your information, could be technically be considered 35 years old. I was training in a pocket dimension where 2 years in that world is 1 month in this world. I respond. Also, you keep trying to call me your son, yet you couldn't even recognize me till I told you who I was, so how's that for irony? I will never be your son again, ass Might. The two who realized the truth of Izuku's statement were mocked by the entire class. All Might, Telik, stop talking or get out of my class, Aizawa interrupts. Tisk. Fine, murmurs All Might. All good, I say, tossing the ball for my peculiar throw. Infinity, the gadget declares, well, it appears that I won't have to employ my quirk, I say. I resumed all of the activities after my demo. Without utilizing Nen or Chakra, the machine was broken in the grip test. Without assistance, I achieved the best time of 0.012 seconds in the 50-meter dash. I received 80,000 steps from the repeated side steps. I won again in the long jump, gaining 2 kilometers. I completed 3,000 sit-ups before being instructed to stop, etc. When it came time for the actual ball throw, I was up, and Ochako Uraraka, who received Infinity, was the current best. Throw it without holding back or you're expelled, was Aizawa's warning as I was ready to toss the ball. I answered, I can't. Why not? I was saying to UA, I don't want to level the school, possibly killing and most definitely injuring some of the students. You're right, nerd, you could do that. The school is more than 5 kilometers away, he added. My response was, I thought it was farther, asking, what do you mean, Aizawa? When I go all out with 100% of all my powers, I create a crater usually about 10 kilometers deep and 50 kilometers in diameter on average. My biggest though was made 12 kilometers deep and 62 kilometers wide. I clarify. Okay, then hold back so you won't break or injure anyone, but go out enough to the point where it almost happens, he responds. All right if you truly want to, but if I do, I'll return with the students to make the biggest boom I can, I add. He smiles and leaves. All Might decided to walk up and watch from where Aizawa would have been because he felt I was bluffing. Without turning around, I continue, you know I don't care about you enough to hold back, so if you stand there and get hurt, it's not my fault at all. Like you could, is his response. Your funeral, I said. I break the speed of light barrier and produce sonic booms when I toss the ball with a complete cowl of 1%. I would have wrecked his shoes if I had not noticed a crater that stopped a millimeter from the nearest student's foot tips. I was in a hole about 10 meters deep, and when everyone but All Might recovered after approximately 3 minutes, They gazed in amazement and said that even their shoes would have been trapped in the mess if it had gone. I said to you, ass Might, he coughs and deflates, then asks, how much did you withhold? I used 1% of my Nen Zero Chakra and 100% of my quirkless strength, I respond. That much maybe you actually could have leveled Ua with full strength. Yeah, that's not a question. What is those if I would have obliterated the glass into atoms again or not, I respond. As she slides down the crater, Aizawa exclaims, okay, problem child, let me now bring up the results. After class, Kaminari, Juru, Hagakure, and Momo go on an excursion. I leapt to my feet and saw them all toss Kaminari and Hagakure onto my shoulders while carrying Juru and Momo to the ground in a bridal fashion. Sorry for being so rough, but that would have been better than rolling down the hard uneven rock surface. I offer them apologies. It's okay, the girls blush. Thanks bro, I thought I was dead, Kaminari yells. Bakugo murmurs, damn, show off. I looked at Bakugo and answered, I wasn't showing off, I just didn't want to have to heal 4 people for something I caused. When Aizawa then displays the leaderboard, it appears as follows. 1. Lunar Izuku 2. Yayarozu Momo 3. Todoroki Shoto. 4. Bakugo Katsuki 5. Yagi Izumi. 20. Hagakure Toru. No. Is Toru's cry. I encourage her, it's okay, don't let this stop you. Use this as a chance to grow and become a great hero. Thanks. Is her tearful response. Oh, and Aizawa claimed that the entire expulsion situation was a hoax. Momo began, you didn't notice Momo, he wasn't lying, he expelled the whole class before because he didn't see any potential in I ended our conversation. She was clearly shaken by this. She had a strong suspicion that it was a scam. She understood after another second that she could be heading home at this very moment if she had failed. Before you start hyperventilating, just know that even though it's hard for him to approve of your strength, he does highly consider potential, and that is why he didn't expel Hagakure. Also, you were right to assume it's a hoax. After working so hard, I was sure at least a few more would have thought it to be a hoax, I respond. Okay, she said. Will student Izuku Lunar of Class 1A report to Principal Nezu's office, according to the system? I respond. Well, that's my cue, Kirishima questioned. Why would Nezu need to speak with you? As I jogged to the building and put my weights back on, I remarked, it would probably have to do with me getting a 100% on the written exam in 11 minutes out of the 2.5 hours given. Hold on. The entire class yelled, what? Momo reflected. It took me nearly 2 hours and I barely received a 98%, and I received the second highest rating in our class in terms of accuracy and speed for completion. The office of Nezu. So, for what reason did you summon me? I inquired with Nezu. With pride, Nezu declared, I want you to become my personal student. All right, what should I do? I said, I'm intrigued. With this, you'll be putting in extra hours, and I'll help you obtain a license to instruct your fellow students and understand what the support course is learning to obtain a license to assist with construction, he said. Okay. But why the support course as well? I responded. Well, originally I would do a doctor, but you told me how you made your own suit, so I swapped that out with an engineering license, said he. I said, I'm in. Are you really that quick? You realize you will have a lot less training time and a lot more homework, he said. Well, here's the thing. I excel in all 4 of the core subjects and am arguably one of the best strategists in these halls. All right, you appear prepared. Let's roll, he adds. With that, my first day at UA came to an end. The remainder of the week appeared to be passing as easily as possible. Izumi was constantly pleading with me to return, and I still had to deal with all of Might and Telic. Momo and I defeated Bakugo and Todoroki, our opponents, on the second day in particular, and we are still the fastest team. It was Friday, and before our subject courses began, it was time for homeroom. I knew something was wrong as soon as we entered because Aizawa, who is always a few seconds late, was already waiting. Aizawa began, first, we need a class representative. Yay, regular school stuff, the students shouted. Quiet down. I wasn't done. After you choose who our class rep, you should all get ready because on Monday we will be going on a field trip to the UA Unforeseen Simulation Joint, also known as the USJ. Aizawa concluded. Suddenly, every student in the class began to run for representative. Yagi and Todoroki were the only individuals who chose not to run for class representative. Just before Iida got up, the entire class was in a panic. How about we put this to a vote? Iida asked. But then wouldn't everyone vote for themselves? Asui asked in response. Well then whoever doesn't vote for themselves must really deserve it, replied Iida. After selecting Momo, I handed in my slip. The remainder of the class cast their votes gradually, and after 5 minutes, everyone had done so. Asui and Todoroki accompanied Iida as he counted the votes, making sure he wasn't manipulating them. 11 members of the board were left without votes when all the tallying was completed. Total votes: Izuku, 8, Momo, 3, Iida, 2, Bakugo, 1, Kirishima, 1, Mina, 1, Kaminari, 1, Juru, 1, Aoyama. 1 Bakugo said, "Okay, who voted for the nerd?" At that moment, the hands of Momo, Iida, Uraraka, Asui, and Todoroki appeared. Koda and Shoji raised their hands after a few seconds. When she saw that, Yagi raised her hand feebly. Momo questioned, "Wait, you didn't vote for yourself?" "No, Momo, I voted for you," I said. "Also, is it okay that I still call you that? I know you said I could call you that when we were 4, but I was just wondering." "Sure, but then I'm going to continue calling you Izuku," Momo answered. Deal. Subsequently, I discovered that Iida was a little depressed since he also desperately wanted a class representative post. I approached him and made an unsuccessful attempt to lift his spirits. According to Ishido, "Now for your speeches." I let out a sigh. "I'll pass." The class exclaimed, "Speech, speech, speech," except for Bakugo. "Fine, fine," I replied. "Alright, I have no idea why you would vote me for class president. I don't think I deserve such high respects, but I will try my best to make you all proud." Hagakure remarked, "Short and sweet, I like it." After I made my way to my seat, Momo started her speech by thanking me, saying that she will do her best to make this the best class she can, and a lot more. She eventually finished and took a seat after 5 minutes. As he put it, smartness overload had Kaminari in full and foolish mode. The other students, unsure of what else to do, simply cheered her on. Suddenly, Aizawa stated, "Lunar, Yayarozu, I will need to speak to you after class about your duties and all that nonsense." "Okay," was our response. The remainder of the class wasn't particularly noteworthy. I completed my homework before class even started, and it was simple. I went to Aizawa's office with Momo to find out what he needed us for after our most recent math class ended. He was obviously waiting for us even though he was in his sleeping bag when we entered. "You took 3 minutes and 22 seconds to get here. That's too long. I don't care if your class is far away. Next time make it 2 minutes and 50 seconds or you're expelled," Aizawa says. As Momo said, "Okay, sir. Now, as for what I called you here for," he said, "you will need to make a file on all the class's personalities, quirks, strengths, and potential weaknesses if possible on all the students due Monday when school starts." "Okay," I reply. "Do you need anything? If not, leave. There's nothing more for you here," Aizawa replied. Momo and I swapped phone numbers as soon as we departed, and we agreed to meet at a cafe I knew tomorrow, Saturday. When she realized I wasn't following her, she turned around and started to leave the campus. Inquiring, "Where are you going, Izuku?" "Me? Oh, that's easy. I'm going to the support course classroom for my intermediate classes," I respond. "For what?" inquired Momo. "Well, you know how I'm Nezu's student. Well, that entitles more than personal studies with him. I'm also being taught so I can get my supporter's license and my teaching license. In order to get my teaching license, I need to first get my provisional license. That means that I usually stay till about 6 o'clock just to get ready." "Wait, why do you need to get those licenses? Besides, you also have to worry about our hero training and studies as well?" she inquires. "Hero training yes, studies no," I respond. She asks herself, "Why not studies?" "Because you know how I turned a huge pile of stuff in before all of our classes today." I begin, "Well, that's our homework and classwork for this term and next term. But we haven't gone over any of that material." "I have. I went through high school classes for university during my first year in middle school," I respond. "But why?" "I mean, I'm usually trying to stay a week ahead. That way I have extra practice and usually get 100s in classes, but I don't go years ahead. Because I wanted my biological parents to notice me, but that didn't work, and clearly working out wasn't either, so around then is when I stopped fighting for their attention. You know, the more I find out about your family, the more I start to hate them. They aren't my family, and now I live in more comfort and riches than both of them." "Okay, if you say so," I said my goodbyes and made my way to the support room because I didn't want to speak anymore. I had no idea that Momo was always following me to make sure I was saying the truth. She was shocked to learn that everything about his extra work was accurate. She was not informed, nevertheless, that he was receiving his support license today. Momo's point of view, and he didn't start until the second day of school, which was the 5th day. She would confront him on Monday for whatever reason, but she was relieved when she learned that he could now legally wear his costume because Ua gave them permission to do so. He passed with flying colors and went. I was so bewildered that I accidentally came out of hiding to ask him, but it was too late when I realized what I was doing, and Izuku discovered me. He said, "What are you doing here, Momo?" "Well, I didn't fully believe you, so I followed you, and when I heard about your costume I was so confused, and then I remembered that you didn't wear it on our second day when we were supposed to. I unconsciously left my hiding spot to confront you about it," I responded. "Oh, is that it? Well, I couldn't wear my costume legally on Tuesday, so I had to go in my gym clothes." "Why couldn't you wear it?" "Because I built it, but now that I have my license I can now wear it when we go to the USJ." I simply stared in utter disbelief, saying, "Wait, what?" "I think you broke her," Mr. Lunar, Powerloader, stated after a few minutes. He said, "Oh no," before attempting to jolt me out of it. I finally snapped out of it after a few more seconds, and then I asked, "Wait, why did you call one of the students Mr. Lunar?" "Easy, because he now has his license, and so now he is on the level of a graduate of the UA support course because they only get their license on their third year at the end of the year after creating hundreds of successful inventions and over 10,000 thousands of failed creations," he replied. "Now I have to take my provisional license exam on Wednesday next week so I can start learning to be a teacher," Izuku stated. "What the hell?" I said with alarm. First-year students hardly ever take the exam, but after 1.5 weeks, no student does. "Well, sure, but I've gone through about a year of hero training since I started with Nezu, plus I really don't think I'll need to use my Nen, much less my chakra, against the trainees," he says. "You know what, though? I've always wondered what this Nen is. Stand back and I'll give you an example, then explain." I take 10 steps back, and he nods, and then I see a flash of electricity. I'm amazed that he's just standing there, and then all of a sudden he's behind me, pushing me from behind. It hurts, but when I turn around, I see something that almost looks like an aura. For what purpose was that? What is that steam, though, may I ask? Well, by activating every node in your body, I pushed you to see my Nen. If you look at yourself now, you'll notice a massive aura emanating from you. Izuku continues, "I need to speed up this explanation, but I need you to visualize the steam slowly enveloping your body like a river's steady flow, gently moving around your body. When you have that mental image, open your eyes again." After following instructions, I notice a slight whitish aura around me. I'm enthralled and approach Izuku, but for some reason, I'm a little faster, not by mucha, and I also feel like I have a little more defensive ability without knowing why. "What is this, may I ask?" He answers, "That is 10, the most important part of Nen." "All right, what makes it the most crucial aspect, may I ask?" "First, just imagine not letting the aura out and that it is just sitting there idle," he says. "Okay. When I do, I feel normal, as though nothing occurred. For a little moment, I was rather concerned, wondering if I would ever regain that." Izuku says, "Look at me and stop worrying, okay? Since I was pushed and had my own aura before, I'm not sure how I can see his aura, but it's still there." "How can I still see your aura?" Powerloader intervenes. "What the hell are you two talking about?" "I apologize, sir, but I'm at a loss for words. However, I can state that the electric snaps I used were one of the two Nen, non-quirk, skills." He turned to face me and said, "I'll explain more in a second, but for now, follow me. I also want to thank you for everything you have done." He brought me to his car after I followed him, and when I asked why, he claimed he was bringing me to his house to tell me about the whole aura mess. I grudgingly accepted because I felt secure with him and knew he would never try to hurt me. Time skipping. Point of view of Sil Momos. After a few more seconds, we turned onto a small road that was about 10 minutes outside of the city. The house was much larger than I had anticipated, and I was still amazed that a runaway, no matter how justified, would be this financially stable. "Are you sure this is the place?" I inquire. "Yeah, honestly Mr. Stark set me off to well," Izuku responds. I inquire, "Who is Mr. Stark?" Izuku remarked, "Shit, I said too much, he's not a concern." "Okay, if you say so." After that, we entered, and I was genuinely astounded by how clean and orderly his home was. He lived alone, but there wasn't a single bit of filth in sight. "I'm sorry for how dirty the house is. I wasn't expecting to bring in visitors today," Izuku responded. "Wait, this is dirty? Oh my god, my house has never been this clean." "Yeah, I haven't cleaned up in the past few days, so I really need to get working on that. Honestly, if it was any more clean, I would think I was in heaven." "Yeah, I guess, but I don't know what God would say to that." Izuku was suddenly accompanied by a stranger who, after a moment of searching, turned out to be the same person who had been there on the first day. I didn't know you had a roommate, I replied. Man, look, she's here now, I gotta explain this to, Izuku remarked, ignoring me, turning to face him. In addition, I thought you were working with the angels and were in a meeting right now. Wait, angels, what are you talking about? Izuku sighed. This is God, he's called king when he's on Earth. Oh crap, I forgot you were in earshot. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do about it now. I was referring to his meeting with the angels to assess the state of the planet and ensure that it remained stable so that we could be tried. Okay, stop lying like this man here is God Imea. Izuku remarked, you did it, didn't you? Yes, I showed her just like I showed you, said King. Well, that saves me time, she exclaimed in utter disbelief, so you really are God. Yes, and you must never talk about this unless you are with Izuku and are here in this house, otherwise we could have a whole catastrophe on our hands and that would end up with an extinction event wiping out almost everyone like Noah and his ark again, King replied. All right, hold on, can I tell my parents at least? Izuku and King both said, nope, sorry for dragging you into this, I should have remembered I can't say the word God in my house without this man appearing, Izuku responds. It's okay, just a lot to process, I respond. That's what he said when I showed him my true identity, remarked King. We're getting off topic, Izuku says. I'm going to tell you all about my nen. You are the first person and probably one of the very few I will ever tell, and I'm only telling you because you have a pure hero's heart like Iida but won't do anything stupid like you would. You mean the heart of a pure hero? May I ask? I mean you're not trying to be a hero for fame, money, or popularity. Okay. I guess, now follow me outside. I'm still confused, but I snapped out of it and followed Izuku after he said that Kinga, or should I say, Goda, disappeared. We walked to his lovely backyard, which had a large fountain in the middle, a well-kept lawn, meticulously trimmed hedges along the walls, and trees all around the landscape. Izuku then led us to an open rock area after having us go through some of the trees. Izuku says, all right, this is where I will explain. The words, I'm all ears. Then he grabbed 2 bracelets and started talking. I told you that I was brought to a pocket dimension. Yeah, that was a lie. I was brought to a temporary world that had 8 people from different worlds or the afterlife train me. The first 5 years I was taught by the ex-Death Note holder Light Yagami and the strategist hunting Light. Light had found this book where if he writes a person's name they would die in 40 seconds after their name while thinking of their face was written. Unless their cause of death is written, the writer then has 6 minutes and 40 seconds to write how and when they die. L was the first head to hunt Light. Light had to pass on the notebook many times in order to fool everyone but L. However, since everyone else is convinced, he eventually beat and killed L. However, L was so close to proving him that the 2 people replacing him finished up all the evidence and reasoning and killed Light. It was so strange that he met 2 deceased people from another realm, and it was obvious that he waited for me to process and ask any questions I could have had. Are there any questions yet? He inquired. What did you learn from them? You don't really have a dying note, do you? May I ask? My death note isn't with me. Light showed me how to create simple and intricate traps, how to create hundreds of false trails with a single motion, and how to reverse the script and pursue the hunter while still posing as prey. Izuku replied. L taught me how to analyze the number of offenders, how to see through all the fake leads, and how to determine if someone else has joined the game before them. Oh, so that's why you always seem to know what to do during combat training. Yup, he replied. Now I guess you made me skip over the rest as to why I was trained by them. Next I was taught by 2 professional hunters in the art of Nen. Their names were Gon and Kahlua. Now, since Nen is really a part of your life energy, I had you activate Ten as right away to prevent you from fainting and dying. The first of the 4 fundamental tenets of Nen is Ten, which describes what transpired as the aura subtly enveloped your body. Ten is a fundamental defense against Nen aura and Nen-fueled strikes. However, Ten is generally ineffective against anything significant. I'll teach you more about serious defense later, Ken. Any queries thus far? No, I answer. Okay, then next is what you will learn is Zetsu, and I'm going to show it to you. Not tell you. What I want you to do for me is close your eyes and try to sense my presence with your Nen. Okay. I could immediately feel his presence when I closed my eyes. His aura was so immense that it was almost unbelievable. I said, I got you. Okay, now point to me while I walk around, hop and such. I could always find him, even if he hopped, dogged and ran. All right, I'm turning on Zetsu now, Izuku states. I said, wait, where did you go? He said, open your eyes, into my ears. He was right next to me when I did, and I was, to put it mildly, frightened because I didn't even hear him move. Zetsu allows you to seal your nodes, temporarily masking your presence, and also hiding your location. Okay, what do I do? Now imagine putting your aura back in yourself again, but this time imagine sealing it off, Izuku remarked. It was half closed at first, but remained open, so I tried again and, with great effort, managed to get them to close. I remarked, URGG got them, not at all. You're a natural, wow. Really? I inquired. Ya usually takes a few days to learn by most? Next is Ren, which is what happened when I activated your Ren, but this time controlled a bit more so you don't lose all your strength. The ability to go to Ren then to 10 and back is really important, but I won't teach you that today. Instead I'll tell you about the rest of my history. I guess, was my disappointed response. Don't be so disappointed. Also I noticed Yo struggled a bit closing your nodes. If you want tonight, just practice it so it becomes like butter your transition, he suggested. Okay. Now, where were we? He begins. Yes, my next two teachers were Naruto and Sasuke, who rescued the entire world from Kagaya Otsutsuki, Madara Uchiha, and Obito Uchiha. Since it's getting late, I'll tell you what they taught me for the sake of time. Properly known as jutsu. Their goal was to teach me how to use it, and I succeeded. They taught me how to bend my spiritual energy and combine it with the world's elements and energies. Each person has one or two that they are proficient in, and for me, it's wind and lightning. To combine the energy, you create hand seals that alter the chakra, allowing the caster to use the power. Have any inquiries? Why are you sharing your past with me? You met King by chance, and now if I keep anything from you, it puts you in greater danger than if I knew. I finally went to Mr. Stark and Peter Parker, who taught me everything I know about building things and even how to use things that haven't been invented yet. They also taught me some chemistry to make various kinds of chem weapons to capture people and make webs and other things, which was cool. The house and cars were also given to me by Stark. And my narrative is that. Any last queries now? No, that would be so cool to meet them though. You can and will later. How? Secret. HMPH. Alright. Now I need to take you home. It's past 7:30. Your parents are going to kill me. We went to his house after that, and I went to the front door to wait for him since I assumed he needed to get something. He called, Lambo, or Royce, out of the blue. Lambo, I returned the call. Alright, I'm coming. He approached me, handed me a sweater, and left. I questioned, what's this for? You must wear that in order to enter my property during our training. I have it set as a blank sweater by default so I can easily grab them, but you can also convert it to a necklace or bracelet. Alright, how can I surrender a necklace, may I ask? Push the chest part, then imagine it as any necklace you want and it will turn into that necklace, but beware if you try to imagine it as anything other than a hoodie, necklace, or bracelet, the device will fail and will no longer be able to shift what it is, he replies. We step outside to view his dark green Lambo after I tap the chest area and visualize it as a diamond necklace with the words, Momo, in the center. He uttered, well, hop in. I still can't believe you're that kid from when we were 4 who was sticking up to Bakugo. I respond. Yeah, sometimes I still wonder if that was really me, he replies. After that, we had a serene and pleasant journey of 25 minutes to my place, where I relaxed and fell asleep right away because I was exhausted. When I heard, Momo, 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 what? I inquired. Someone said, you're up at last. Where are you at your house? When I opened my eyes, I instantly recalled what had happened, blushed when I realized I had fallen asleep in his car, and then suddenly found myself being scooped up and driven somewhere. Knock knock, a voice that sounded a little robotic said, who is this? Hello, my name is Izuku Lunar. Since I'm Nezu's personal pupil, your daughter was curious about what business I still had with him after school. She stayed with me through all of my lectures today, so I apologize for being here so late, he concluded. As a guy opened the door, the voice said, okay, come on in, Mr. Lunar. Izuku's perspective, a man said, hello, I'm Haishi Yaoyorozu. Hi Mr. Yaoyorozu. He pointed to a different seat and said, you can put my daughter down there. I said, okay. Now I would like to know what actually happened with you and my daughter, he responded with anger. She and I had to meet with Aizawa-sensei after school because we are the class representatives. However, when she allegedly left for home, I returned inside for my test to obtain my supporter's license today, since as I mentioned, I am Nezu, I began. Stop lying to me, child. I know Nezu and he doesn't have personal students, remarked Mr. Yaoyorozu. I pick up my phone at this point and contact Nezu. It takes a while for him to answer, so I just wait and stare at Mr. Yaoyorozu. Nezu's voice enters my phone and says, "Hello, Izuku. What's up? Why are you calling so late? Normally, you're done now." "Hi Nezu-sensei, I'm here with Mr. Yaoyorozu," I respond. And Nezu asks, "Mister, could you verify that this is indeed Nezu, Yaoyorozu? May I ask?" "Yes, that's him," he says. "Now Nezu-sensei, I need you to confirm that I am your personal student so I don't get accused of doing something with his daughter that I most certainly did not, and before you ask, Momo followed me to watch me during my test without me knowing and has fallen asleep when I took her home," I respond. "Yes, Izuku is my personal student. Mr. Yaoyorozu, I understand your concern as well as why you would believe that I don't have such a student, but I know you were told that your daughter placed second on the test and the person that scored higher is Izuku here, who got a 100% on the test in 11 minutes and 26 seconds, and before you ask, I checked to see if he cheated as well as did an IQ test. This child has knowledge greater than one of a university graduate," Nezu responds. I hung up the phone and put it aside after he said this. "May I now go ahead with my story?" I say. He answered, "Yes, I apologize for disturbing you." Great, now I had found out Momo was there when she unconsciously moved to come in when they had heard that I passed the support license exam, which only third years can take right before they graduate. After that I retrieved my license. When she discovered that I needed my license at 5:03 p.m., she asked why, to which I replied that I needed it in order to utilize my homemade hero outfit. "Any queries thus far?" "May I see your superhero outfit?" he inquired. "Yes sir, luckily I have my spare on me right now," I say. Then, when I tap my bracelet twice, it transforms into a suit that gradually envelops my body. Mr. Yaoyorozu remarked, "I see, my nanotech suit is this. Since it is theoretically illegal to wear it outside of school or on my own property, I must now remove it." "Okay," he responds. "Now let me continue," I said, after I explained that I was planning on going home when Momo started questioning how I managed to have a healing quirk alone but yet seem to control the elements and what training I do to lift my wrist and ankle weights as well as my vest. "Yes, exactly. How do you manage the weather?" he inquired. "Well, you see, I have found a way to bend spiritual energy within myself and therefore changing the elements around me based on how I do it. Now I could only find a way to bend wind and electricity," I say. "I see. That is a powerful peculiarity. Actually, it isn't a quirk. Like I said, my only quirk has to do with healing. However, in order to unlock it, you would have to spend a lot of time meditating and be able to easily lift at least 125 tons. These wrist and ankle weights are all 45 tons each, meaning just my arms and ankles are holding 180 tons. However, my vest says 52 tons, I said. "If you were telling the truth, then the floor would have broke." "Well, I suppose I'll have to prove it to you once again, but for this one, will you follow me outside?" I ask. "Oh, and do you have a machine that can lift objects that aren't this heavy but are nearly this heavy?" "Yes, actually I have a weight measurement that reaches up to 55 tons in weight," he replies. I respond, "Nice, that makes this easier. When I put on my wrist weight, it reads 45 tons. He hit the machine, reset it, and took every precaution to ensure it was accurate. After I demonstrated that it was, he asked how his floors weren't breaking, and I replied that I hadn't actually sat down yet and had only been shifting my weight before the ground could detect the weight I was placing on it. After saying, "Now for the rest of my story," I take out my driver's license. "After this, I brought your daughter to my house since I remembered meeting her when we were 4 years old. After we both understood this, I gave an explanation of my reasons for fleeing from my sister Izumi Yagi, All Might, and Telic." He asks, "Wait, you're Izuku Yagi?" "Yes and no," is my response. Explain. My name at the time was Izuku Yagi, and I fled my home over 11 months ago. But after demonstrating that they had no malicious intent, I met someone who was impressed with my training up to that point and wanted me to train with him and his friends. I trained with him in the original man's quirk, which opens a pocket dimension. His dimension causes 2 years to pass in the space of 1 month on Earth, but I age in the real world at the same time, so I aged 1 month. This transpired for 20 years in that dimension, where I developed my battle training, unlocked my elemental changes, discovered that I did have a quirk, learned how to make things, and created my suit. I told them that they hadn't noticed me missing for half the time I was gone, since when I left, they all said I had only been missing for 5 months, not 10. But in the 10 months that I was away, the others got me 2 cars, a residence of my own, and a legal name change. I drove your daughter here in my dark green Lamborghini that I was given. They persisted and wouldn't allow me tell them that what they were doing was excessive. After some time, I finally agreed, and during that time, they gave me one more assignment. defeat All Might and make them regret ignoring me for 11.5 years in the actual world. I imagine she slept off in your car, which would explain why she was asleep when you brought her here, he inquired. Yes. So what happened during I am going to guess maybe 1.5 hours you were at your house, he inquired. Honestly, all we did was catch up with each other, replied I. Ah yes, you mentioned meeting my daughter once before. When was that? Yes, well, one of my bullies was attacking your sister because they thought her quirk sucked and that he was stronger, so he was about to attack her when I took the beating for her since I had already been dealing with his beatings for 5 months at that point in time, replied I. Ah yes, I do remember her telling me about that, responded he. Yes, well, we were able to tell each other our names and chat for a minute before she left, so that is where we started and caught up from. Okay. I will not press you for any other information, I was just making sure she was alright, and you have proved your honesty many times, so I won't ask her. However, next time try and be back before 7 o'clock, this is your only warning, he said. Izuku's perspective. Thank you, Mr. Yaoyorozu, and I will make sure not to let this happen again. However, we probably should have done this while we were at my house, but I forgot. But we need to make a file on all our classmates and it's due Monday before our USJ field trip on Monday, so I will be picking her up tomorrow, I say. All right, he said, I'll see you tomorrow. Before I leave, one more question. Lamborghini or Rolls-Royce? May I ask? Ah, if you're referring to which car you should pick her up in, I would go with the Lamborghini, says he. If that's your choice, what are you saying? I mean, I have a Rolls-Royce and Lamborghini as you said, but I wanted you to choose which I come in so you know what I'm coming in tomorrow. Ah yes, then the Lamborghini, since I know your license plate so I can confirm it to be you. Skip time on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. as the gates open. I hear Mr. Yaoyorozu say, "Hello Mr. Lunar, please come in." I respond, "Thank you, sir," and pull in. Momo called and said, "Hi Zuzu." "Hey Momo," I respond. When I hear her mother say, "Enjoy your date honey," Momo gets into my car and I leave. It took me a moment to recover, but after I did, I put the car in drive and drove away, blushing slightly and making Momo flush pretty hard. "I'm so sorry about my mom," Momo said after we departed. "Oh yeah, that's fine, and what's with the nickname Zuzu all of a sudden?" I laughed and answered. Well, I just thought about it when I said it, thinking it sounded kind of cute," she said, blushing even more after saying this. "I guess it's kind of cute," I say with a smile. She said, "Okay Zuzu, it is. Oh yeah, how'd you sleep last night? I had to talk with your father then left, but I just want to make sure you were okay." "Oh actually I don't even remember falling asleep, I just remember waking up in my room to my alarm at 8, so I slept like a log," replied she. "Well that's good. My dad didn't harass you too much, did he?" Actually I expected him to have a whole lot more questions. Thank goodness. We pulled up to the cafe at that very moment and entered, searching for what we wanted and then waiting for our turn to view what they had till we knew what we wanted. When the clerk said, "What can I start you lovely couple with?" "We're not dating, just here for a school assignment, but I'll take a latte with an order of pastries," I said. "I apologize for assuming that. How about you, miss?" "I guess I'll try the cappuccino and one more order of pastries." Just before making my way to our table, I take out my card and pay for the food. The statement, "You should have let me pay," Momo said. "It's absurd. You don't have to pay me since I have 1,000,000 yen that I can spend this month before receiving my next payment of another 1,000,000 yen. "All right," she said. "So before we get started, I want to know what my father interrogated you about." "He wanted to know what we were doing," I replied, saying I caught you spying on me for the exams. He then had me call Nezu to confirm that I was taking the exam. Then I said that we were just catching up from what happened during the 11 years since we last saw each other. "What more did he ask you to demonstrate?" she inquired. "What's the reason behind that? If that was all you had to prove, you would have interrogated me to make sure our stories lined up." "Fine, he made me prove how heavy my weights were, prove my identity, and told him that I was the ex-runaway known as Izuku Yagi, and checked my licenses to make sure I had legal ones and not some fakes to help me with my story," I said. "That makes sense." We started working on our class file as soon as our beverages arrived, and after almost 45 minutes, it was just Momo and I left. "All right, I've already described my quirk, which is called Heal Pulse, and I've also explained what a chakra is. You currently possess one of my powers. The drawback of this quirk is that it has a cooldown, but it enables me to restore myself or someone else from near death to perfect condition. It takes 48 hours for me to use my quirk again after a near-death injury, 24 hours for life-threatening but not near-death situations, 12 hours for serious injuries that could result in permanent damage or a life-threatening situation, 20 minutes for something like a few broken bones before I can heal someone else, and finally, I can use it continuously for anything less than that. I conclude. She responds, geez, that's one huge healing quirk. Yeah, but it took me almost dying to find out I had the quirk, I respond. Okay, guess it's my turn. I can create anything as long as I know what it's made of as well as the compositions of all the materials, she added. You know, if you're a conjurer you could combine that with your quirk and be nearly unstoppable, I respond. I left a 4,200 yen tip, and after we finished writing our reports, we just sat there and talked for another 45 minutes. She told me that she had always loved studying anatomy, that she loved music, and that her friend Giroux had forced her to start listening to Queen, which she enjoyed. She also told me that the whole reason she's becoming a hero is to help those who aren't attacked on the media and who could be victims of horrible things that no one knows about. Thanks for today, it was fun, Momo said as we climbed into the car. Honestly, I had a lot of fun as well. I'm glad you enjoyed it, answered I. Time skipping Monday. Bus loading. Alright guys, let's line up single file and fill the bus one at a time, I replied. Please listen to Zuzu, we need to get going as soon as possible, Momo responded. I had no idea you were seeing someone, Ashido screamed. It's not like that, is our composed response. I conclude, we're just childhood friends. But she responds, if you say so, now that that's over please proceed in an orderly fashion, I'm saying. I merely glared at the class when I saw what they did, leaving only the front 2 seats open for Momo and me. Then, the entire class entered one by one, with Momo and I entering last after making sure we had everyone. Saying with a groan, man, you are all way too difficult. After that, Momo and I settled into our seats and waited for the ride. The first few minutes went smoothly until Momo dozed off and ended up on my shoulder, at which point I could feel that everyone in the class, with the exception of Bakugo and Yagi, and especially Ashido, was watching me, and I was furious. Stop looking at us, she probably just had a long day yesterday, I say to them. The entire class immediately pretended not to be watching, with Bakugo and Yagi keeping to themselves while the others pretended to be conversing and stealing glimpses whenever possible. 30 minutes are skipped in time. Uncle Shota said, you're all here, okay? Everyone began gently stretching and getting ready after that, and I was about to stretch myself when I realized Momo was asleep. Hey, I said, trembling Momo a little. Said Momo. As much as you look really cute sleeping you need to wake up. We're at the USJ, answered I. Momo blushed wildly as soon as she remembered where she was, and I blushed a little as I realized what I had said. I said, sorry, I didn't, she interrupted me, saying, did you mean what you said? Yes, I answered. Well, we should probably get going, plus everyone's looking at us. They have been for the whole trip, I say. What do I? Confused, she asked. When Kaminari responded, because you were on his shoulder the whole time, she was on the verge of bursting into laughter. Really? Why yeah, we took a turn out of the campus and you fell onto my shoulder, I said. She answered, well then thanks, we've kept 13, Might, and Aizawa-sensei waiting long enough, so I say calmly, anytime, before turning to the class and adamantly saying, now, if you're done harassing me and Momo, then let's get going. We all got off the bus after that, and Aizawa gave us a brief lecture about how it took too long to get off, but he gave in when 13 emerged and invited us inside while Uraraka was fangirling the entire time. Once we were inside, 13 began to explain that we would be doing hero rescue training, and then a portal appeared out of nowhere. Kirishima remarked, whoa yo, brought fake villains as well, so manly. I step right in and say, those aren't fake villains, those are real. When I looked around, I saw that 3 figures appeared to control the place. The first had the warp quirk, the second had hands all around him, and the third was some sort of Birdman hybrid that, to be honest, would have made most people shit their pants right then and there. I charged my nen to 5% and was prepared to fight them. No one yelled, you wanna die kid? Your funeral, exclaimed another. You sure are overconfident, I haven't even used my quirk yet, muttered the 100 thugs when I deactivated my nen and simply cleared them all out. The handman remarked, how that was 32 seconds. Easy, I removed my weights today, so I'm not hindered by 232 tons of weight. Now, after I'm dead, I advise you to return to whatever hole you came from and try again, I mock. Calmly, the handman responds, kill this brat Nomu. The bird suddenly appears behind me, so I leap over it and avoid his blow. When he returned, I struck it with my fist, sending the Nomu flying at the expense of my broken arm. Wow, that thing made me need to use my healing quirk, not bad, I respond. What the hell kind of kid are you? That was stronger than All Might in his prime, he replied. That was a warm-up during my training to apply to UA. Ass Might could have beaten that in a shorter time, I yelled. You ought to show your professors some respect, don't you? Warpy uttered. Yes, but not Ass Might and his fraud wife, I said. Warpy inquired, and why is that personal? The Nomi interrupted me by hitting me. The hell, you should be crippling right now, I replied. Haha, my perfect Nomi here has shock absorption and regeneration. Well then it is a good thing I also have more than one quirk, Nen style. Full cowling 10%, you want to play show off, I show you show off, I respond. Just putting hole after hole in the Nomu made me nearly vanish. I decided I had had enough and prepared for a last assault, but then I saw that Momo, Jiru, and Kaminari were all going to perish in the rocket zone. As I appeared behind Momo, I said, lightning style, flying Raijin. I slashed his jaw, interrupting him, the hell how'd you get he? I pointed to Momo's jewelry and remarked, thank God I marked that necklace. You barely caught yourself there Zuzu, Momo replied. I apologize. Dude, I said, I already get enough shit from Killua and Naruto. Who is that? Jiru and Kaminari inquire. Two of the people that trained me. Now I need to get back to fighting that asshole before Aizawa gets himself killed, I respond. First of all, how did you arrive here so quickly? Jiru inquired. I answered, about that. Yeah, I just teleported. How? You possess a healing talent. As I respond, my third quirk, Chakra. How many peculiarities do you possess? Kaminari inquires. 3, healing, Nen, and Chakra, I continue, pointing to Aizawa, who recently suffered a fractured arm. Now stop questioning me. I'll explain later unless you want him to die. Go, Momo said. I said, already I announced, wind style. Rasen Shuriken, as I threw it. The Nomu almost avoided it as I flung it, escaping Aizawa. After saying, shit, lightning style flying Reijime, I passed Aizawa and grabbed my Rasen Shuriken. Aizawa questioned, kid, what the hell was that? I point at the Nomu and say, that would be my Rasen Shuriken, now watch out I gotta deal with this bitch here. I was furious and began to become serious as I threw my Rasen Shuriken toward Ua and then charged the Nomu. I sprang to the Nomu and said, Nen ability, full cowling 15%, and Chakra ability, Rasengan, causing a large hole in the ground. He flew back out of the USJ as soon as the Rasengan struck the Nomu. Who's next? I asked. Please receive the message shortly. The perspective of Ua Nezu. 5 minutes ago. As I was walking around Ua, I noticed a huge white shuriken with a ball inside that was headed directly at me. I was about to dodge it when it vanished, and when I did, I found a scroll that read, attack at the USJ Aizawa is critical. 13 is knocked out but, most of the students are fine. I'm dealing with the main attackers that took down Aizawa and 13. Please send medics and teachers to help catch these villains. Izuku Lunar PS don't send All Might. I just dealt with a Nomu who has raw strength stronger than All Might. I immediately placed the school on lockdown, and as we raced across the city toward the USJ, I spent the next 5 minutes informing the heroes, Teacher Snipe, Cementos, Midnight, Recovery Girl, and Vlad Kinga of the predicament. Returning to USJ Izuka's point of view, present. As the dust settles, Warpy replies, don't worry about the boy, he must be reaching his limit. I responded, I wouldn't believe him, as I emerged from the dust. You. Handman complains, you cheater, my Nomu was supposed to kill All Might. Warpy says, Shigaraki calm down. No. Kurogiri look at the boy, he's barely breaking a sweat, he may have a few cuts but he's fine, Shigaraki responds. Kurogiri asserts that, his quirks must be at a limit now, they must. Even though it's entertaining to hear two grown guys gripe over a youngster destroying their plaything, I step in and say, I'd really like to get home. Oh, and Nen ability. Full cowling 20% is the limit thing. I can still tango with you, you see. Kurogiri opens a portal around my arm and snaps it shut before I can think. He remarked, hey, good thinking, Kurogiri, as I regenerate my arm. I add, you know that hurts right. Well, your Nomu isn't the only one with regeneration. Damn, they don't realize that I have 18 hours to heal, so I have to beat them without getting hurt. Shigaraki complained, how are you not curling in pain? Oh trust me I've had worse, try being limbless, and headless just your body rolling around, now that hurt, I respond. Wide-eyed, Shigaraki attempted to reply, we need to get. No, I don't think you will be leaving, I respond. Shigaraki injured the muscles and broke up the skin of my stomach with his hand. The words, "Fuck that hurts," come out. Not regenerating now, then? Kurogiri remarks, it appears that you have a timer on your quirk. Well, no use hiding that, but I can still clap your cheeks so hard you'll be crying to mama, I respond. Really, kid, you're something else. You're standing in a pool of your own blood, but you act like this is everyday stuff, Kurogiri chuckles. To Bakugo, who has just arrived with Todoroki, Kirishima, and Yagi, I say, thank him. Also thank my ex-sister, the girl who's with those three. My, you were bullied by your fellow heroes in training and yet you still are positive, he begins to respond. I punched him and remarked, you know, for someone who is calm and collected you talk too much. Shigaraki reached for me once more, but I thought, not this time, Shigaraki. I avoided him because I knew his peculiarity. Wind style. Gale palm is one of the quick hand signals I make. I rejoined with Bakugo, Yagi, Todoroki, and Kirishima after knocking Shigaraki back once again. I stayed up watching them to make sure they wouldn't try anything. Kirishima remarked, damn, Lunar bro, that was awesome. Thank you, but I should have been more cautious. I pointed to my stomach and added, it's embarrassing that I had to use any of my quirks against those two, let alone this injury. How are you not fainting when that's your blood? Todoroki said with concern. I should thank you for your constant harassment, it really saved me there, I said, pointing to Bakugo and Izumi. I was preparing to battle when Shigaraki was shot, and when I turned around, I saw Snipe and the other teachers here. The villains had just recovered and were charging me. Kurogiri, let's go Shigaraki, we'll get another chance. Kurogiri and Shigaraki were suddenly engulfed in purple mist, and Snipe attempted to strike them by firing a few bullets at the mist. However, the mist vanished after a short while, and the two were no longer visible. I'm glad you all okay. Once I saw that beast I was extremely worried, remarked Snipe. Yeah, me too, was my reply as I approached them. Are you okay, kid? You got a serious injury there, Snipe inquired. Yeah, I've had to endure worse. In fact, this was just a scratch for me at one point. If I ended up with this little at the end of my entrance exam preparation, I wasn't working hard enough, I replied. What sort of ordeal did you endure when you entered UA? With great anxiety, he asked. I'll tell you all later. Right now I need to make sure everyone is okay, I say. Kid, you need to see Recovery Girl. I'm not asking, Vlad King replied. I know what you did to that beast out there, but still that is a bad cut. Flashback. 15 minutes ago, outside the USJ, 3rd POV. Vlad began, what the hell, why didn't any of the alarms go off, adding, some. On their route to the USJ, they stopped to observe the beast and make sure he was captured and interrogated after he was abruptly propelled out of the USJ and was flying in the direction of their goal when he landed with a loud crash. What the fucking hell, Snipe said. What pupils were capable of doing that? Cementos continued. Nezu said, Izuku Lunar would be at fault for this. He's this powerful? Vlad asked. According to Nezu, no, he's holding back. Not at all. Every teacher said, yup, if he was going all out, the USJ building, as well as all the surrounding area, would be nothing more than rubble if we're lucky, Nezu says. All right. That's hot, Midnight said, basically he's stronger than All Might. Nezu responded, he's 16 Midnight, besides you already met him and knew he was strong. But seriously, goddamn, what kind of quirk is that, said Snipe. None, answered Nezu. Vlad asked, what do you mean? The kid wasn't wearing his weights today. That means the villains attacked a kid who's no longer being held back by 232 tons of weight on him. I would be surprised if any of the villains escape, or much less conscious when we get there, Nezu said. So he has a strength quirk but still 232 tons, that's insane. Vlad screams. Nope, we suppressed his quirks with quirk suppression and he was just wearing them like normal weights, Nezu replied. What sort of instruction did the child undergo to accomplish that? Snipe inquired. Well, actually he didn't find out about any of his quirks till 5 months ago, but he always wanted to become a hero, so he trained himself so hard so that he could make himself have a strength quirk, and that's what he was going to write down. In fact, by that point in time he was wearing 192 tons of weight, so I doubt he's used any part of his quirk, Nezu said. Really? That's crazy. Principal Nezu placed suppression cuffs on the Birdman beast thing, and they ran the rest of the way to the USJ. When they got there, 2 villains were getting up, Aizawa and 13 were severely hurt, and Izuku was still fighting despite missing his stomach. After subduing all the villains, they tried to help Izuku and Aizawa, who was 13 years old. Flashback ends. Izuku Pav. You know Snipe, Vlad King, if the first was actually injured then I wouldn't have been able to deal with the two that just got away, smiled I. Izuku was hit by Momo, who ran over to us with Jiru and stated, that was way too reckless, you shouldn't have showed off so much. I apologize. I chose to play that game as well since I detested how much they were boasting and showcasing the Nomu. I'm sorry, Momo, Izuku said. Snipe questioned, what do you mean he showed off? Lunar Bro made a huge crater on the quirk apprehension test with almost none of his Nen quirk, but yet he was using like 20% of his Nen quirk and this place is still decently intact, replied Kirishima. He was also yelling out the name of all his moves, Jiru said. Really, child? Did Vlad ask? You know that they might start planning to take you down now that they know what you can do, Cementos said. No they can't, I showed them all a very held back version of all my attacks. Izuku began, if they think I was going all out, they're badly mistaken. Besides other than my teleportation quirk I haven't shown any of my lighting attacks. I said, Shadow Clone Jutsu, 200 Izuku suddenly materialized, encircling the USJ and starting to hunt out any remaining villains or struggling classmates in order to help everyone board the bus in a timely manner. What the hell kid, that's more clones than ectoplasm can manage, Vlad replied. This is insignificant. I could create 3,000 clones if I so desired. I clarify, that's the most I can do before I start giving up my move strength. Cementos remarked, you're something else kid. After loading up the boss and assisting in bringing in villains and healing their injured pupils and teachers, all of the clones vanished after 5 minutes, and I dropped out, hoping to sleep for a little while. 36 hours later. Where am I? I inquired. The recovery girl said, oh dear, you're in my office. What time is it? May I ask? Midnight, she answered. Damn it, out for 12 hours. Kahlua and Sasuke are gonna kill me for slacking off on my training. Who? In any case, you haven't gone out for a full day in 36 hours. I responded, well, better start digging my grave, as my face went white. Why is that? Oh, I don't know, maybe because the people who trained me will kill me for taking so long from such a minor scratch. I respond. Scratch? That was a massive injury, shouted the recovery girl. No, it wasn't a big injury, was being headless and limbless, responded I. Child, you need help. Also, it was my quirk that kept you out so long. It heals stuff like this but completely drains your stamina, especially for stuff that big, she stated. His countenance brightened slightly as he said, well, that would explain me gone for 24 hours but not 36. What specific training did you undergo? With great concern, the recovery girl asked. No, I wasn't subjected, I kept going via my own free will. They reminded me of that every day. They wanted to make sure I was up for that hell. Besides, I had been dealing with hell for 10.5 years before I started training, I clarify. The recovery girl said, okay, but you need to sleep, you need to recover. No need physical energy quirk heal pulse, I said, there I'm all recovered. On the battlefield, why didn't you do that earlier? Because I had used it to deal with a missing arm so I could continue to show off and that activated my cooldown. The recovery girl slapped me on the head with her staff and shouted, you really are stupid. Sorry, but I need to get home. How, you certainly aren't walking. No, I plan on driving. That's illegal. I took out my license and stated, not for me, adding that I needed to study for my licensing exam tomorrow in order to obtain my provisional license. What do you mean your class is not applying for the licensing exam? You're too young, replied the recovery girl. Class, no, they're a year away from being ready. Me, yes, why, cause Nezu is trying to turn me into a teacher, student for my class, I clarify. With a, what do you mean, she said, as you can see, my academics and fighting sense are on par with those of a university, but I obviously didn't use them during the attack since I misjudged them. I also have unmatched control of my quirk in my class. Regarding the teacher-student agreement, however, I would cover for Aizawa when necessary, assist other teachers in the event that they are injured while heroing, and attend staff meetings. On the other hand, the student component means that I will continue to attend all of my classes when I'm not teaching, participate in school functions as a student, and serve as class representative, I clarify. So, when is the scheduled date of your teacher licensing exam? Tomorrow, after the provisional license exam. Also, I have my supporter's license so I can take over those classes as well. The only class one can't teach is business course students. My, you're overconfident. Yes, I am, because based on what I've seen from those villains, I'm so ready. Izuku's perspective. I drove home after my conversation with recovery girl. I practiced applying my flying radiant marks quickly that evening. Before I went to bed for a nap, I managed to reduce it from 1.5 seconds to 0.25 seconds. Time skip. Right before class, perspective of Aizawa. I heard you needed me, Nezu, I said. Yes, you see Izuku will be out of class today to take 2 tests he will need for tomorrow and Friday. Nezu clarifies. For what? I inquire, a little perplexed. Well, you see you are going to have the day off to recover tomorrow and Friday, and the one who will be teaching will be Izuku. He is taking his provisional license and teaching license exams today. Wait. What? He's been at UA for a week and a half, he shouldn't be getting his license this early? But also his teaching license? May I ask why? Yes, let me explain. You see Aizawa, Izuku is more talented and has enough control and training over his quirk to match that of the 3rd year. However, more importantly is it would be impossible to have a substitute teacher, but with your wounds, you can't have the class doing that much. That is why he will be going. In fact, looking at the time he should be starting. Nezu clarifies. I said, just don't get killed, Izuku, after saying, okay, but it's not my fault if the kid gets hurt. Exam for licensing. Begin Izuku's perspective. Okay, let's see the first exam. We have to hit people with balls. Clearly for teamwork purposes most of the classes will stick together. I think. That means if I want to pass, more than likely I'll have to take down one of the classes. Hey guys, look at that kid over there, he's muttering his whole strategy. Wait, he thinks he can beat us, ha 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 ha. Let's show him a lesson. A random pupil responds. Contestants, begin, is said by the microphone. All of a sudden, Ketsubutsu Academy students are all around me. A random kid said, all right, let's show this punk what it means to mess with us. I'm good, I say. Beep 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 beep. The students only hear it before turning to see me simply making my way to the finish line. Student Izuku Lunar has passed the first exam. There is still 1 hour 58 minutes and 37 seconds remaining. A random student said, how did you pass? You teleported or something, before being interrupted. The failure buzzers for Shikui Makabe and Tanami Nakagame sounded. The only reason I knew their names is because that's what the buzzers said. Because a child was moving quicker than they could follow and appeared to be teleporting, the entire class was in a frenzy. A pupil remarked, that's one hell of a quirk, I won't forget you. No, I did that quirk less, I didn't feel like wasting my time with you lot, said I. A separate student remarks, like I'll believe you kid, no one moves that fast without a quirk. Follow my class 2-2 from Ketsubatu, if you want proof, I respond, but if you do you promise a truce with me, if you attack me I won't promise I'll let you leave unscathed. All right, I'm Yoshindo, a pupil declares. Following the introductions of those who followed me, I introduced myself before heading to my backpack, which was in a trolley. Do any of you have a strength-enhancing quirk? If you do, please try to lift my bag. 2 pupils attempt to raise the sack but are unsuccessful. They make an effort but are unable to cooperate, which infuriates the people who are with me. Calm down. Now one of you 2 grab the quirk suppression cuffs in the bag, then test it on one of you to make sure it suppresses your quirk, I say. After they comply with my instructions, I tell them to put them on me. Following that, I went to my backpack and placed the 2 kids who were attempting to lift it using their peculiarity in handcuffs there. So do you believe me now? I inquire. Why yes, but how, and also why couldn't they lift it with their quirk but you can? Shindo inquires. Easy, they haven't trained their muscles to carry this 350-ton bag, I respond. You're lifting 700,000 pounds without your quirk? What kind of hellish training did you put yourself through? Shindo asks again as the students gasp in shock at the sheer weight of that. None of your business, but what I forgot to tell you was that since you 6 came with me, just listen to the stereo. You fool, Shindo interrupted. The buzzer announced, Ketsubutsu Academy's Yoshindo passed. For the other 5 people who were with me, it went on like that. They were all startled by this and expressed their gratitude to me. I break the cuffs with force and say, it's no problem now. Grab onto me all of you, I'm just going to teleport us there. Okay, they all say. After saying, lightning style, flying Raijin, I transfer each of us to the gate. I still can't believe we all passed, thanks to you, remarked Shindo. In summary, we waited the remaining 110 minutes for the first stage, and all of the Ketsubutsu competitors aside from the 2 I eliminated passed. All of the past examinees had to cooperate during the subsequent test, which was a rescue scenario. All of the sick were taken care of in 5 minutes, and the 127 remaining candidates who passed were making every effort to establish their value. All right, can all of you who have minor injuries come here, I'm asking. I ask them if it's alright if I use my quirk to heal them all after they all do so. They all said that they would be delighted to. I yell, heal pulse, and a wave of green energy instantly cures everyone in the gathering. My quirk can heal people from the brink of death with a 2-day cooldown. Life-threatening but not die in 5 seconds in 24 hours. Could lead to life-threatening cases in 18 hours, broken bones in 20 minutes, and anything less with no cooldown, I say. Now will those who have some broken bones, I'm asking your permission to heal you. Yes, they all reply. Okay, is my reply. After I cure them all, Gang Orca and a few fictitious criminals show up, stating that they must shield the wounded from them. I then scream, those with close-range combat quirks come with me. Medium-distance quirks you need to stay here and guard them. Long-distance quirk users be like snipers guarding the injured. Also I need 5 speed types to be ready to take the injured somewhere else at a moment's notice. I won't be able to heal another batch of people for an hour, so I'll help the close-range fighters. Okay, is how the candidates answer. 3 of the 8 speed kinds finally depart and join the close-range slaughterhouse after initially protecting the injured. Gang Orca, I utter. Izuku Lunar, the kid who broke the record for passing the first stage passing in less than 1.5 minutes. I must say I'm impressed, he replies. Yeah, well, I haven't used my battle quirk yet. The last time I did that was to blow the Nomu sky high during the USJ incident, I respond. Wait, but only first years went there. Why would you be here if you're a first year? UA only started a week and a half ago for you, he asks. I pull out another pair of quirk restraining cuffs, put them on myself, activate them, then grab my bag and drop it. That's okay. I'm Nezu's first and only personal student, and I'm taking this exam to take my teaching license exam after this. Also, during the last 11 years ago until last year, I was thought to be quirkless, so I trained myself to be stronger than any strength-type user. In fact, why don't I just show you, I say. Boom, there was a crater in the arena, and it wasn't a little one. In actuality, its diameter was most likely around 5 meters. Wow, feels good taking of those 350 tons, but I don't want to cause any casualties, so I'll put it back on. I respond by slamming it into my shoulder. I went on, oh, and about these cuffs, guess I don't want to hold myself too far back. Snap, that's better. Now let's get started, shall we? I inquire. I say, Nen ability. Full cowling 0.025%, in reference to Gang Orca. In a matter of seconds, I capture Gang Orca and assist my classmates. 10 minutes or so later, we gathered everyone before the speakers arrived to wrap up the test. Out of the 127 students who were selected to take the second exam, 120 of them passed. The others who failed were those who attempted to act self-centeredly in order to gain more recognition. Only 1 point was subtracted from my initial 100 points, and I received the best possible score on the test. Well, that was unexpectedly easy, I reply. Now onto my teacher's exam. 3 hours later, time jump. That teacher's exam was nothing, the speaker said. Less than an hour ago, the teacher started her exam, and I was already on my way out. It was too awful. The rest of my class should be having lunch and getting ready for the hero course, so I'll phone Nezu and ask if I can teach today. I checked my watch and noticed that it was 12 o'clock. Time skip. Aizawa's office 25 minutes later. Hey Uncle Sho, don't worry about teaching, I'm covering for you for the rest of the week, I said. He inquired, you really passed? Yeah, I said, taking out all 3 of my licenses before adding, don't worry, Uncle Sho. I can handle the class on my own. He climbed into his sleeping bag and remarked, okay, problem child, at least I can take my nap. I went to teach after leaving the classroom. It feels strange to say that, man. Nezu said, hey Izuku, mind if I tag along? Sure, makes me telling them I'm their teacher more believable, responded I. Where were you? We heard you were discharged from the hospital last night. Why weren't you here for class? As a class representative, you should have, I said as soon as I opened the door and stood up. Now is that any way to treat your substitute teacher? I interrupted him. Iida asks, what do you mean? I grab my licenses and say, I will be covering for Aizawa until he recovers. Therefore for now I'm no longer your student but your teacher. If you don't believe me, ask Principal Nezu, who has graced being here with me today. Yes, it's true, Izuku will be your substitute. The reason he was absent from morning classes today was that he was getting both his provisional license and his teaching license, Nezu replied. Iida added, I sincerely apologize for my actions, as she sat down. No worries, I would have done the same thing if I was in your shoes, I say. Bakugo begins, like hell I am letting a useless nerd. Useless, huh? I say behind him. You know none of you would be able to pass the provisional license exams at the current rate you're going at. Especially you Bakugo. Now be quiet and listen, because I don't want to have to keep dealing with you, I respond. I was able to silence Bakugo, and the entire class stared at me in disbelief. I activate my hero costume and say, now everyone put on your superhero outfits and come see me at the gym Gamma. Everyone in the class merely gazed at my superhero outfit. It was amazed at first, then perplexed. I inquire, what's up? How did you get the support staff to make your suit do that? Wonders Ashido. Simple really, I did it myself, I replied. Then isn't it illegal for you to be wearing it? Iida inquires. Showing them my supporter's license, I said, nope not at all, because of this bad boy. Now, get to the gym Gamma now. If you are all not there in the next 5 minutes, I'll start you on my regime. All of the kids left the classroom and went to their locker rooms in the following 5 seconds. I simply waited after teleporting to gym Gamma. We're here, Momo whispered, gasping for breath. Nice you beat the timer by 15 seconds, I replied. Kaminari inquired, so what are we doing here today? Glad you asked. Today we will be pushing you to the limit of your quirks so we can identify strategies to use when you are at a disadvantage, as well as see if I can improve your quirks for a special move, I continued. It's going to seem like hell, but when you're done you will be a force to reckon with during the sports festival in 2 weeks. Speaking of next week you have off to train for the festival, and the festival will be that Monday you return. I'll be attending the 3rd year's sports festival because of my unfair advantage in the 1st and 2nd year tournaments. Okay, that sounds manly, Kirishima remarked. You're first, I said. He said, for what, bro? I want you to harden, then try hardening again, I said. As he tried it, he said, okay. It seems like you can but it doesn't last for more than a quarter second. Helpful tip: if you sense someone about to land one hell of a hit, harden your second time right as they make contact and you will feel it until you can hold your second hardening skill for more than 10 minutes at once, I say. Now your turn Ashido. Call me Mina, Lunar Sensei. Fine Mina, I want you to try to spew acid but try imagining it's sticky and acidic, okay, I replied with a smile. We discovered that it may be sticky but not very acidic when she tasted it. Okay, the reason you wear next, I want you and Kirishima to spar. Kirishima try to trap him with the sticky stuff while making it acidic, while you Kirishima try to harden so when you deactivate your quirk the acid falls off and be able to shed within a second while Mina's slugging more acid. Now go, I said. Yes, sir, is their answer. Now I want you to try to make a shield as fast as you can, Momo. All right, Zuzu, she said. I'm Lunar Sensei while I'm teaching, Momo. Fine, Lunar Sensei. In 3 seconds, she creates a shield. I then give her 8 seconds to try to create a sword as quickly as she can. Now while I'm working with your partner, try to get your creation of swords to become faster. She says, okay, and walks away. I say, you're up, Ochako. I'm sparring with Momo? Great, this will be unfair, she said. Now your goal against Momo, if you're curious, will be to make her float and have her constantly creating stuff while you try to touch her. But first, the lesson: I want you to try imagining your quirk making everything heavier, for example this sword. I urge you to take the weapon Momo initially designed. Okay, she said. After a few seconds, she used her quirk to touch it and visualized it doubling in gravity. It worked, but she puked nearly instantly. Now when you spar with Momo, try to make her float while occasionally making things float or get heavier till you can hold making things heavier without spilling your breakfast immediately. This way you can throw off your opponent making things heavier all of a sudden, I advise. I said, Izumi, you're up. Okay, she muttered. You've hollowed out, I said. Anyways, I want you to use your telekinesis to lift this. I threw one of my weights at her. She made a half-second attempt to halt it, which caused it to fall to the ground. I told her that she will be one of 3 that won't have a sparring partner but instead will utilize this until she can lift objects this heavy as that for more than 5 minutes. I told her it's 20 tons while she attempted to lift it. Now, according to Bakugo, me next nerd, no you will be up soon. Well, you would have been up to go after the next person, but for that outrage, you will wait a bit longer. Now Denki, you're up, I replied. Okay. You're an electric type that fries your brain when you create shocks, so why not borrow the electricity outside, I said, and then added, try to feel electricity around you and bring it to your hands, then have it surround your hands. Fine. A few minutes later, his hands were covered in electricity. He opened his eyes for me. After that, I advised him to add a few volts of his own that wouldn't damage his brain. I told him to punch me after he done so. He asked, you sure dude? Yes, go ahead and do it, I said. When he said, okay, electric strike, after using my chakra to absorb the harm, I informed him that unless he had the same level of electrical tolerance as me, he most likely would have been rendered unconscious by that. I then instructed him to shock someone else by diverting the electricity from the air instead of directing it at them. He was successful, although it took him some time to get a strong zap out of it. Good job, now try shortening the time on your own time. For now wait here. Tokiyami, I replied, I want you to use dark shadow as a shield around your body, that way even when it's bright outside your quirk can protect you while making your hits with your fists stronger. They were now able to use their punches to smash rocks after he managed to rip it off. Katsuki, you're up, I responded. TCH whatever, nerd. For you, I want you to try and ignite your explosions from somewhere other than your hands. This way you can supercharge your kicks, for example, boosting them to make them hit harder. You go practice this. Once you got a feeling of it, I want you to use it against Tokiyami to see how much stronger your attacks are, as well as test out his strength in defense. All right, he said. Jiru, you are going to use your jacks to hear when Hagakure throws stuff with you. You will be blindfolded, but this will allow you hear where things are, and that way you don't only rely on your eyes when you can use your jacks to anticipate attacks as well as stop them from hitting you from a blind spot. Hagakure, I can't really improve your quirk, but I recommend trying to lift heavy objects and train hand to hand as well as do stamina training so you can strike hard from out of nowhere against your opponents. When they said, yes sensei, Iida, try switching gears right as you're about to swing your kick, making it fluid, adding more power, but then when you're done immediately go back down so you can have more stamina and still hit hard. You'll be fighting Todoroki. Todoroki, I want you to try making ice around your fist to block hits as well as pack a harder punch, and as soon as you're done melt it with your left side so you don't have to go to the hospital, I stated. The robotic voice of Iida responded, okay Lunar Sensei. Sure, replied Todoroki. Next Sue and Honda. Sue, you will be avoiding Honda's tape, making you need to move faster, while Honda will need to start launching his tape faster if he wants to catch you both, significantly improving your quirks. All right, says Honda, saying, okay Ribbit, Sue. Next Shoji, your skills at locating are top notch. Now I want you to focus on fighting. You will be going up against Rikido. However, Rikido, I want you to try holding back how much stronger you get and see if that will allow you to keep your buffer longer, that way you don't consume your supply of sugar as fast when you don't need to. And Shoji, make them hands and try to make yourself more nimble so you can dodge more and hit from blind spots. Alright, they both say, Aoyama, I want you to see if you can make your laser explode multi-directional, that way against fast opponents they can't advance, halting them, allowing you then to strike them out with your quirk. You will be facing Ojiro. You will need to use that explosion strike to stop his attack from hitting you. Ojiro, you will need to also learn to get faster to take down Aoyama. According to Aoyama, oui, sensei. Alright, Ojiro said. Okay Koda, I want you to try to become more vocal so you can call to animals far away. Can you do that? I'm asking. I think so, was his reply. Okay good, time skip. Following instruction. They all remark, I can barely stand. Yup, and you'll be doing this for the next 2 days. I already told you it would suck, but this way you become stronger. I want to see Class 1A only for the last round and the top 19 be Class A for the other 2 events, okay? I replied with a smile. With panting, they murmured, F fine, when I said, now let's go eat. Time skip. Training concludes on Friday. Alright, I understand that you're exhausted, but I want to demonstrate your progress. Eijiro. Mina, when you started, Eijiro would barely be able to harden and unharden in 10 seconds and hold his unbreakable for a quarter second. Now you can hold your unbreakable for 6 minutes. Mina, you could only make one or the other for your acid and it took you a while to switch. Now you've created a combined one and can use both and switch in a quarter second, I replied. They both said, really that much we changed? I barely noticed. Momo, you can now produce nearly anything in a second. When you first started, it took you 3 seconds to make a shield and 8 seconds to make a sword. Additionally, Ochako, when you first started, you would take a few seconds to make something heavier and then barf almost immediately after, even with the small stuff. Now that you can do both switches with ease and keep things heavy for a while, you turn into a force to be reckoned with because you always take longer to make what should be split-second decisions. Wow, that's a big difference. I didn't even notice how much stronger I got, they both said. Izumi, you can now hold weights up to 20 tons for 30 minutes, as well as now you can use your enhancement ability while using your telekinesis. You could easily get number 1 hero one day if I wasn't your roadblock. Thanks, Oni-chan. I still haven't forgiven you, so you are not allowed to call me that. I snapped and turned to Kaminari. When we started you would turn stupid after using only a couple of attacks, but now you have a long-ranged attack that you've learned to master, pulling it off in 2 seconds rather than almost 45 seconds. Also you have your electric fists attack when you're going in the close range department, making you a very flexible fighter, Kaminari. I think I've really improved, he answered. Fumikage, when you started you relied solely on your quirk, now you've combined it with your own strength and have built up a higher resistance to light as well as learned how to tank Katsuki's explosions. Katsuki, you've learned how to make explosions come out of other places other than your hands, making you a very nimble fighter. Plus you've learned how to boost your attacks with your explosions, making them 2 maybe even 3 times stronger. Fumikage remarked. Thanks, Lunar Sensei. Katsuki remarked. TCH, I really am the damn best. Juru, you used to rely solely on your eyes and rarely on your jacks for anything but attacking. Now you have learned how to find the faintest sound and stop using your eyes when you should use your ears. And Toru, you have gotten a lot faster and stronger, and quieter, making it almost impossible to track you and understand where you attack from. Previously you were slow, sloppy and way loud, we could all hear you moving. We were like that? They stated. Yes. Now moving on, Tenya, you used to use up all your stamina in about 5 minutes, you've increased that to over 30 as well as can power up and speed up your kicks mid-kick, making it extremely difficult for your opponent to block. While you Shoto have become a 100x more precise with the ice, you used to only use your ice in a relative attack, always completely changing the landscape and always doing huge damage to your surroundings. Tenya remarked. Thanks for your wisdom, Lunar Sensei. Ya, Shoto replied. Now, Mazo, you have become significantly stronger and more nimble. From when we started you were predictable in all your movements and relied on pure force to attack. Now you are a lot faster and have decreased the time it takes you to react to something. Meaning you rarely suffer hard hits now. Rikido, you used to only hold in sugar for like 3 minutes, now you can change how much you use up and how fast, meaning with a small boost you can hold it for nearly an hour. Also you can increase and decrease how much strength you add in a moment's notice rather than taking over a minute to switch. Thanks, they said. Su, Hanta, when you both started you both were sloppy with your jumps for Su and tape shots for you, Hanta. Yet now you can anticipate where an attack is and avoid it or change your attack before they can change their attack. It's quite the difference. Hanta remarked. Man, that feels like years ago. Yup, Ribbit, I can't believe I was that bad 3 days ago. Aoyama, you can now hold your naval laser for 10 seconds at a time without experiencing any pain. You can also use your laser to create a barrier that stops people in their tracks. You now know you can hit an opponent with your beam, when before you merely hoped you could. And Ojiro, you've developed into a very erratic and agile attacker who won't be stopped by any attack or defense. Thanks. Insert some French cuz I don't know any, Aoyama said. I've made a huge improvement thanks to you, Ojiro stated. And finally Koda, you've stopped your stuttering and can also call for help from animals from over 3 kilometers away. You've also become more socially active and aren't scared of bugs anymore. I had a stutter 3 days ago, he stated. I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to be your teacher. I'm excited to watch how you perform in the general course, support course, and business course against Class 1B, but I suspect the business course won't really participate. Anyway, enjoy your vacation and I'll see you at the sports festival. All but Katsuki, Shoto, and Izumi said, bye, as they departed. After 5 minutes. Are you kidding me? That's how much they improved, Aizawa responded. Kid, you're a bigger slave driver than I am, and until now I've been the biggest slave driver known to Ua. I held back on the students, I said. Not at all. What type of monster are you? That training was crazy. The one that wants to see them win, I said. Oh, I have a feeling they're about to destroy the competition, answered he. All right, then I performed my duties properly. I must go home now since I also want to train, I added. Okay. Time skip. Evening buzz, I was wondering what was going on. So I wrote Momo back after seeing that she had texted me on my phone. Hello, Zuzu. How are you? I. Just completed training, nothing major. Would you like to get together tomorrow? I. Of course, where would you want to meet? What about the shopping center? I. All right, let's get together at 11 a.m. All right. I. See you later. Good night. I. Good night. Third person point of view. The week off. Over the course of the following week, Momo spent a lot of time with Izuku and had a great time. On Saturday, they went shopping, and on Sunday, they spent the entire day talking on their phones. On Monday, Izuku gave Momo more training about Nen and Ren, but they also went to Izuku's place for dinner, and on Tuesday, they went to see a movie together. During the movie, Momo was thinking about how much fun she was having with her Zuzu. She thought she blushed a little, but she quickly pushed it away, dismissing it as a rogue thought. However, she continued to have rogue thoughts over the course of the week, thinking he was cute, romantic, or hers, but what really pushed her over the edge was when she went swimming the following Saturday and saw his rock-hard 8-pack, toned muscles, and innocent smile. He asked if she was okay, and she replied that she was. After he apologized profusely, he cannonballed into the pool and made half the waterfall out because he had forgotten to remove his wrist weights in the morning. They were permitted to stay, but were on very thin ice. On Izuku's end, things didn't get much better. On Monday, while they were having dinner together, he started to think about how adorable her smile was. He caught himself before Momo did and tried to forget it. On Tuesday, when they were holding hands, Izuku thought it was heaven. On Thursday of that week, she was wearing a skirt and shirt that looked almost too tight, and her hair was down. For the first time in his life, he started blushing and getting a nosebleed when he saw Momo's two-piece swimsuit. On Saturday, when she fell over, he did everything he could to avoid blushing or getting a nosebleed. Monday, just prior to the sporting event, from Momo's perspective. She wondered if Zuzu would still be RT, but then Aizawa entered without any bandages. Guess not, that's a shame, she said. The first-year sports festival is taking place today. I'm simply going to warn you now because Lunar Sensei went too far in how much he trained you. Don't go too far because we don't want any needless injuries or a huge shutout, Aizawa remarked. Mina grumbled, really, we have to hold back, according to Kirishima, so unmanly. I wasn't finished. After saying that, Aizawa declared, Izuku will go all out on you if any of you are placed below a student from a different class, and if you didn't realize he was being soft on you while he was training you. The students and I both answered, okay, sir, obviously afraid of what Izuku's full out would be. The sports festival begins, Momo Pav, presenter Mike declared from his platform. Today marks the beginning of the sports festival. Our referee for this year's first-year tournament is Midden. Hold on, everyone Izuku Lunar of Class 1A will now serve as the referee. The crowd goes silent in shock, wondering how and why one of the supposed contenders is the referee. Wait, what, Zuzu is the referee? I don't think I can handle this. I don't understand how a student acquired the position as a referee, Aizawa. Could you please explain this to me and the audience? Mike asks. Yes, but only for this one time. As you can see, Izuku Lunar is Nezu's personal student. Since he is far above all other kids in terms of combat skills, Nezu encouraged Izuku to train his mind for once. 2 weeks ago, on Wednesday, he took and passed his provisional license exam. He then took and passed his teacher's license exam. Izuku is the first and most likely the only student teacher. Before he arrived, he knew more than a university graduate and was as knowledgeable about battle strategy as Nezu, so once he obtained his licenses, he took over my class while I healed. Izuku may not look it, but he is a demon when it comes to training others. He outperformed my class so well that they are on par with a second-year student in terms of control and a knack for using their quirk. He accomplished this in 3 classes, not to mention that he was holding back a lot to give the other students at least a chance. He was only going to serve as referee because we didn't have any other teachers available, but Midnight's attire and demeanor are too mature for high school. So now that Izuku is legally allowed to serve as referee, he will do so for today and tomorrow. On Wednesday, though, he will compete in the third-year sports festival. That's your justification for going to bed. You heard correctly, one of the pupils is already eligible to teach. Let me now present you to Izuku Lunar's stage. I still can't believe how strong he is, Izuku said as smoke rose and exited a small tube in the center of the stage. Zuzu then began to make his way to the microphone. Hello everyone, my name is Izuku Lunar. Due to my placement on the entry examinations, I will now be the one to offer the opening remarks. However, as I am the referee and not a participant, Katsuki Bakugo of Class 1A, who placed second on the entrance exam, will receive that honor. Thus, give it up for Katsuki Bakugo right away, Zuzu said. Even if it hurts demeaning to know that you're the judgmental nerd, I will still hold back because I know you deserve it. Bakugo declared, I'm going to win this thing, and that's final. No, that's wrong. Stop demoting yourself, you placed higher than him. I knew Bakugo had an inflated ego, but it wasn't missed. Bakugo, Todoroki, and Zuzu were the strongest fighters in our class. Instead, the crowd jeered him. Zuzu began by spinning the wheel and saying, now for the first activity, we will be doing an obstacle course. The competition has been chosen runners to your position. Everyone hurried to the edge of the area and prepared to begin right away. Since I knew Todoroki would likely freeze the start, I devised a covert protection device. Zuzu shouted, go! Everyone in my class was ready. Wonderful. Todoroki froze the floor right away, and it appears that everyone except Class 1A was captured. I developed booster boots, a new invention that allowed people go much quicker. It was never made public, but I knew how to manufacture it, so I did. Observe how Class 1A appears to use Todoroki's trap in order to outpace the other students. As of right now, Katsuki Bakugo and Momo Yayarozu from Class 1A have surpassed Todoroki. While Momo utilized her talent to make booster boots and is now moving as quickly as Bakugo, Katsuki Bakugo is using explosions from his hands and feet to fly forward. After a few minutes of being neck and neck, Bakugo and I encounter 5 enormous robots. Bakugo flies over them and keeps going, while I leap up and decapitate one of them to gain an advantage. Momo, Bakugo, and Todoroki effortlessly get past the first challenge. Present Mike asks, "What's this Iida that came from behind and passed all 3 with his engine quirk?" I understand. I make a rope and use it to grasp Iida, then I put the booster boots on Iida and boost to go ahead of him. Alright, Bakugo and I are neck and neck. Todoroki is still right behind, and Iida is barely ahead of the 3 of us. In an attempt to catch up with us, Bakugo cries, "Get back here, 4 eyes and ponytail," while producing significantly larger explosions. Then Todoroki builds a ramp out of his ice so he can catch up to us. And now the top 4 are nearing the second obstacle, the pitfall, announces Mike. Too easy, I reply, and then I make a grappling rifle with my creation quirk and swing it between rocks. "Goddamn Aizawa, Lunar, what did you teach your students?" Mike inquires. "We showed them how to manufacture and use what they can in less than 5 seconds, which shortened their overall reaction time after the villains taught them how to abbreviate their reactions and what it means to not hesitate. Finally, their class fight for supremacy propelled them forward," Zuzu replies. What a class! The top 4 are getting close to the final challenge, while Class 1A is nearly finished with the second obstacle and the remaining classes haven't even reached the halfway point of the second obstacle. Mike remarked, "Talk about monsters. Thank Lunar for that one, he put them through hell and back and made them over 5x times stronger than they were before he started, and he did it in 3 days, Aizawa remarked. "But I thought you said that he was holding back their training," replies Mike. "If I trained them all out, a minimum of 7 would be in the hospital or dead, but those who survived that hell would be nearly 35x stronger," Lunar said. "From what I've observed, he's being modest with those figures before the mob goes crazy accusing him of being overconfident. Showing off, holding back, and protecting others, he used shock absorption, regeneration, superhuman strength rivaling All Might at his prime, and superhuman speed to slay a beast. He then made 200 clones, made sure all the criminals were safely put away, took care of the injured, and made sure that 13 and I received immediate medical attention after he let one of the other 2 take his arm and stomach for fun. He then proceeded to tell us that this was only a scratch during part of his training to get into UA in the 10 months prior. So if you don't think his training is as bad as it sounds full strength, think again. I've been our school's scariest trainer for the last 22 years, and I'm terrified of the training he could put me through," Aizawa concluded. The crowd instantly fell silent in fear of what the child could do. "Well, if you're done proving your point, it looks like Momo has dropped behind the other 3 as their league. What was that explosion in the back that was way more powerful? Would you look at that? Momo rode the explosion and is now in first," said Mike. "And that's it, Momo claims first," Izuku responded. "Coming in second is Katsuki, in third is Todoroki, fourth is Tenya." The remaining locations were positioned after an additional 45 minutes. 5. Yagi Izumi 6. Shiro Honda 7. Asui Suyu 8. Ashido Mina 9. Sato Rikido 10. Ojiro Mashiru 11. Shoji Mizo 12. Tokiyami Fumikage 13. Juru Kyoka 14. Kaminari Denki 15. Uraraka Ochako 16. Kirishima Eijiro 17. Koji Koda 18. Aoyama Yuga 19. Hagakure Toru 20. Monoma Nato 21. Kendo Itsuka 22. Shinso Hitoshi 42. Sunotori Pony. "Alright, now that we have everyone, it's time for us to see what the next event is," Zuzu stated. Man, Izuku's cruel, not even giving the others time to catch their breath. Class 1A has less time to gather their breath than the period allotted by spinning the wheel, present Mike, because it's a cavalry battle. Zuzu responds. "I realize I'm coming across as harsh, but given how I felt about the licensing exam and the fact that all of these students will be singled out because everyone will be aware of their peculiarities during the test, putting them at a disadvantage means that UA needs to work even harder to ensure they pass." Izuku, thank you for the insight. Could you now clarify the rules? Present Mike makes a sheepish inquiry. Okay. Well, how it works is that last place is worth 5 points, 41st place is worth 10 points, and so forth to second place, who is worth 205 points, but first place is worth a whopping 10 million points. I could feel every contender's eyes on me at once. Whoa! Todoroki comes over to me. Do you want to join my team? He inquired. Yes, thank you, is my answer. Then Mina and Kirishima approach me. Can we become a part of your team? Kirishima inquiries. Yes, all three of you are aware that I am worth 10 million points, may I ask? Exactly, we have the hardest job, so if we keep the 10 million then that will show everyone just how strong we are, Mina stated. Okay, is my reply. Let's think of a strategy, otherwise we're screwed, and that's not manly, Kirishima remarked. Kirishima, you should be the main horse and hold me up, then Todoroki and Mina use your acid and ice to push us forward, I stated. Wow, that's brilliant, you know you're smarter than you give yourself credit for, Mina replied. I don't know about that, but I know with our lineup we won't lose. Zuzu begins. Okay, time up, get ready, we start in 10. I said, let's get ready, Zuzu uttered. 4, 3, 2, 1 start. When two teams from the Class 1B and support course suddenly attack us, we completely collapse, take off all 8 of their headbands, and keep running. After 10 minutes of the 15 minutes allotted for the competition, there were only 5 teams, all of them with 4 members except for one, and only one of the 5 teams would be eliminated. And it won't be. Ida grabbed the headband worth 10 million points, interrupting my thoughts. And time's up. Zuzu shouted. No, we were eliminated, I didn't grab the right headband, I'm so sorry, I replied. Ashido proclaimed, don't worry about it because we weren't eliminated, while holding up 2 headbands. However, when? I inquired. When I was you miss it, I used my sticky acid and attached it to the headbands. I was able to grab 2 of them, but I wasn't able to grab the 10 million pointers, but this way we beat out Ojiro, Koda, and Hagakuri's team, replied Ashido. Thank you so much, you're a lifesaver. And now it's time for our 15-minute intermission, Mike declared. I ate a lot of food during that intermission to get extra lipids. This competition will be one of the hardest I've ever faced. Let's get started. Okay, so this is where we'll fight 1v1, huh? Sounds exciting. I went outside to watch the other 15 people putting on the stage cementos created during the intermission. Izuku draws everyone's attention by saying, now, time for the matchups. Tenya Iida vs Fumikage Tokiyami in the first fight. Second bout. Katsuki Bakugo vs Ochako Uraraka Momo Yayarozu vs Honda Siro in the third bout. Fourth bout. Yuga Aoyama vs Denki Kaminari. Fifth bout. Mazo Shoji vs Eiichiro Kirishima. Kyoka Jiryu vs Suyu Asui in the sixth bout. Shoto Todoroki vs Mina Ashido in the seventh bout. Izumi Yagi vs Rikido Sato in the eighth fight. Until it's your turn to fight, everyone except the first fight matchup will now leave the stadium, Zuzu said. Tokiyami barely lost the first battle, but he passed out first, giving Iida the victory. The second match wasn't very entertaining to watch. Uraraka was destroyed by Bakugo. Despite her strategy, she was never able to get close to Bakugo, and his fight was ultimately lost due to Aoyama's lack of stamina. Kirishima defeated Shoji because Shoji couldn't hurt her and his punches were almost always ineffective. Sue defeated Jiru because she couldn't land a hit, because Sue was always jumping around, over, and behind Jiru, so she won with her speed. Todoroki's battle was much closer than I had anticipated. Ashido continued melting his ice, but lost due to a hidden capture with his ice, and Izumi immediately threw Rikido out of the stadium without hurting him, winning her the match. I'm going up against Kaminari in the second round, but first it was Bakugo and Ia who cares. Noda Bakugo triumphed by leveraging Iida's momentum to throw him out of bounds with his blasts, ensuring that he would exit the ring. We both took a few blows, but the problem is that I'm gradually losing to Kaminari, who has a lot more strength left to fight, so I might have to use a trump card if I want to win. Recently, when I was training alone, I developed a secret weapon that I had to use if I wanted to keep going. It's time for a secret move, finger sedatives, I muttered, causing my fingers to shoot out. Whoa, what was that? Said Present Mike. Then Kaminari fell to the ground unconscious, and I assured them that he would awaken in half an hour. Thankfully, I was able to move on, and Kirishima quickly defeated Sue. Todoroki tried to defeat Izumi, but he finally succeeded by positioning himself with his ice and then freezing Izumi with everything he had. Now for the first match of the semifinals, Momo Yayarozu vs Katsuki Bakugo. Zuzu exclaimed. I have to deal with another weakling now. Fantastic. Just Gray. Bakugo began, but he took a hit to the face. I hit again in response to the statement, "Stop inflating your ego and fight." "I'm not inflating it, I just know I'm the hell," he exclaimed after catching it. I begin, "Huh, yes you're better than me but you can't hold me," and then I say firmly, I mean it. Or, lose. My sedative bullets didn't work, so he just used this explosion to explode his arm so they would shatter before reaching him. I rushed him and attacked him from all sides, but Bakugo was always on watch. We fought for the next few minutes, and I was gradually being pushed back. That's it. I knew what I had to do, so I used him and then struck Deku with one of his whites just as he raised his guard, causing him to suddenly slam his wrist to the ground so he could lift it. I said, "Sedative time," and he passed out. Zuzu sobs and Momo wins. Then came Kirishima and Todoroki. Kirishima was able to break all of his ice, and his sneak attacks never worked. Izuku did the unthinkable by persuading Todoroki to use his fire, which the entire class was unable to do, and after a few minutes of struggle, Todoroki and Kirishima went way beyond their limits and both fainted at the same time. It turned out that they both had serious injuries, so I won the sports festival by default, while Todoroki and Kirishima tied for second. I wasn't too happy because I wanted to prove myself against them, but I knew that if they fought, they would be in danger, so I'll have to deal with them later. Time skip. Wednesday, Final 4, Izuku's perspective, of the third year's tournament. In the first few events, I breezed through the first two stages with ease. Imagine your own events. I don't know what to put in the next two matches. I beat both of them without even using 10% of my quirkless strength, but now I was having trouble putting all of my effort into this man named Mirio Tagata, who would phase through every punch I threw at him before hitting me from behind. "I see you are worthy of fighting," I replied. "What is the intended meaning of that?" he inquired. "It means I'm going to need to use more than 0.02% of my strength." "Stop lying. If you were only using that little strength then obviously you wouldn't have made it this far. And these will attest to that," I added, taking off my wrist weight and carefully placing them down. "Oh, but I wasn't kidding." Boom. "What in the quirk's history was that?" he inquired. "Those would be my 45-ton wrist weights," I respond. 45 tons, that's insane," said some members of the crowd. "He's lying. If they were that heavy, they woulda." The smoke vanished, cutting them short. The stadium was left with a massive crater from the two wrist weights. "What sort of strength quirk is that?" a person in the throng exclaimed. "That is me quirkless," I said, pointing to the TV where a recording of me begins. "Hello everyone, if you're watching, one of the applicants made me take off my weights. As you can see, it's 45 tons, but I want to draw attention to this." Grabs quirk canceling cuffs and puts them on, activating it now. If it were a quirk that allowed me to lift those, I wouldn't be able to do this. Lifts both wrist weights with ease. Energy use is my quirk, as I call it. It has no official name, but essentially allows me to use all three energies our bodies have to increase my ability. For those who are curious, those energies are my life force as energy, physical energy, and spiritual energy. They are my life force as energy. My life force energy enhances my already powerful strength and stamina. Using it to the full power lets me increase my strength by over 300x. The drawback of course is using it too long will really drain me and could leave me comatose for nearly a month. My spiritual energy connects me to the earth and allows me to, when making hand seals, to connect with it, create elemental changes of wind and electricity. My body is non-compatible with anything but fire, but I can't use fire well because my body is barely compatible with it. The drawback of this one will temporarily drain my stamina and strength for a maximum of a week. And finally, my physical energy allows me to increase my regenerative ability, or via touch can transfer it to another, healing them. This part's weakness is that I have an internal timer after I use it that counts down. When it hits 0 I can use it again. However, villains watching this, I have put myself through training that has made me lose my limbs and organs while still having a timer countdown of over 30 hours remaining, so don't think you can kill me so easily. And as evidence, catches the phone and displays the time and date. Watch goes to seize his heart and extract it. He reveals his phone with the time and date displayed. Time-lapse counting 32 hours. I'll heal myself. Heals himself now. As you can see, all I need to do to enhance my quirk is to physically train myself and practice meditation. My life force and healing abilities are enhanced by physical exercise, but meditation addresses the other half of life force training and increases my spiritual energy capacity. If I unlocked my quirk before I was ready, my healing would have a timer to go for years, my spiritual meter would have to wait decades, and I would be dead in milliseconds of using my life force enhancing ability. I am overpowered, but in order to get it, I had to train my body to be resilient to the energy use. In fact, my power only appeared when I was able to lift 40,000 pounds or 20 tons on each limb with ease for more than 12 hours. At the time, I could hardly use my healing ability to treat scratches without waiting 12 hours to use it again. I could only perform one change before my spiritual energy was depleted for a month, and I could easily die after exerting my life force for more than 10 minutes. My rigorous training routine, which I followed since I was 4 years old, when I was thought to be quirkless, has helped me become who I am now. That changed when I ran away and changed my last name from Yagi to Lunar. Yes, I am telling everyone now that I was the one who ran away from my parents just 7 months ago, but it has been a year for me because my parents didn't notice for the first 5 months of my disappearance, which was the extent of their neglect. In fact, if it weren't for one of their former friends who was inquiring about how I was doing, they still wouldn't have realized I was missing. I just finished the match, so there's my narrative. If you look below, you should see it. The recording ended. I was standing in the arena with my opponent inside the walls when the smoke cleared from the wall as the cameras and spectators turned to face the arena. After the fight, I gave my opponent some healing, and we spoke for a bit. The other two opponents, Tamaki Amakiji and Najire Hato, stared in disbelief as soon as the video's revelation hit him. But, really, you thought you were a little nimble until you were able to carry 20 tons of weight on each of your legs. Damn, I guess I need to go back to the training area, he remarked. I wish you luck, man. Izuku Lunar, it's good to meet you formally. My name is Mirio Tagada. I answered, likewise, Tagada-senpai. I learned a lot from him and discovered that, up until this point, they were thought to be the strongest 3 members of UA High. I told him about my training regimen to get this strong, telling him that I pushed myself to the limit every day and that, once every quarter, I would get my top score and make me wear 20% less around during the day those 3 months. After about 20 minutes of small talk, the winner of the match was announced as being Najire's, and Tagada went to check on Amakiji to see if he was okay, and I simply followed. Hi, Tamaki. How are you doing? Tagada asked. I'm fine. Did you have TTT to bring him to BB? He answered. Oh, he just followed me. You don't have to be so anti-social, Tamaki, responded Tagada. To which Amakiji answered, IISC, I said, what's up? And, nice to meet you. Over the course of our brief conversation, Tagada here has talked a lot about you. He informed me that the two of you are a formidable duo. Really? IGG guess, he answered. Dude, come on, I know you hate company, but still he isn't that bad, stated Tagada. What do you mean the DD dude is wearing 45 tons on each limb as we speak, responded Amakiji. Well, I suppose that's true, but I have experienced what it's like to face monsters because I went through it in elementary and middle school. I could confront them in middle school, but doing so would require me to get into a fight with Telik and All Might, I remarked. Hold on a minute. After shouting, Tagada cooled down and inquired, what do you mean by that? I sighed and explained, it goes like this because I was thought to be quirkless. My childhood friend and sister bullied me after I got back from the quirk doctor, but 2 months later they went a step further and beat me until I had bruises all over my body every day. At that point, both of my parents stopped caring for me overall, forgot I was even alive, and stopped letting me eat the food they prepared. In retrospect, that was the last time they gave me anything besides beatings and a place to stay for hurting their pride and joy, Izumi. For that reason, I haven't received a gift, supper, clothing, money, a phone, or contacts. Therefore, unless you're a bully, villain, or a horrible person, Amakiji, you don't need to be afraid of me. Sorry B, but how did you survive that hell? Inquired him. I wouldn't let myself stoop to their level, so I trained myself to be able to take their abuse without pain and then trained to be strong enough to file myself to having a strength quirk for my application for UA. Then I trained myself so hard during the last physical test for school I could break all the national records while holding back, that way my parents couldn't hold me back from taking the exams, I stated. Damn, no wonder you seem like 2 different people when it comes to training and your personal life, responded Tagada. Don't worry. I may train people, but only to help them awaken and enhance their abilities. Speaking of Tagada, have you ever thought about jumping a little bit and then continuing the attack before striking? For instance, if you recall, you phased beneath the cement to evade my attack and then suddenly appeared to attack. That's when I beat you. The next time, try jumping a little bit so you can avoid the attack, stay where you are, and advance, making you immune to attacks and not always being confused for that brief moment. Additionally, when I'm not teaching, call me Izuku. Tamaki answered, oh okay, then call me Tamaki. And me Mirio, was Mirio's response. Sounds good Mirio, Tamaki. I responded, well looks like I have to fight Hado now. Mirio replied, go get her, why yeah, was added by Tamaki. After a minute, Hado showed up, and we waited for the final seconds of the intermission to pass before preparing to fight. I exited and went to the stage to do so. Let's test out your strength, Hado yelled. Okay, but don't complain when I win, I respond. Hado jumps a no. She flees into the air and unleashes some very sluggish attacks, which I easily escape before jumping up behind her and attempting to hit her, but she hits higher. Goddamn, exposing my hero suit in this way. It appears that you are having your aerial war, Hado, I call. The phrase, well Hado, I'm coming to the air to fight, refers to using my thrusters to fly. According to her, how that's not one of your quirk abilities. Well, because I built these thrusters you don't think I wouldn't think of this mishap. I mean I could have struck you with lightning or used my wind jutsu to track you, but the resulting explosion could have killed you, and some of the spectators, so this was a smarter option, I said as I zoomed toward her and she attempted to flee, but I was faster. Punch I won the match by punching Najire, knocking her off balance, capturing her with my cape, and then flying down and sending her out of the ring. I told her, you know you're really tough, she answered, how did you wipe the floor with me? I performed the identical action with Mirio and the others, but you forced me to employ a skill other than my strength as something no one else could have done. In addition, your quirk is really strong, however, I would advise you to strive to speed up your beams so that they can wrap around twice as quickly while still producing the same amount of power. Once you can achieve that, you'll be even stronger and faster, I said. Guess you really are a teacher as well, she murmured, but thanks for the tip, I'll check it out. Tamaki and Mirio both appeared to truly like you, I remarked. You three seem close, especially with Mirio. She blushed a little at the final line before responding, yeah, we were great friends. Although I appreciate the comment, why do you refer to them by their first names? Oh, don't worry. Mirio and I hung out while you two were fighting. After Tamaki lost, Mirio wanted to see how he was doing, so I just followed. After some bonding, we were first names. I won't take your partner, so don't worry. She shouted, he's not my boyfriend, in a very agitated manner. Tell him and yourself that. It's heartbreaking to realize that you both have affections for one another but are too shy to approach each other. I respond, just get your months. Hado departed the stage, obviously upset and quite agitated, and we prepared for the ceremony. Time skip. The following day, since ectoplasm is out today and Mike was hurt last night while on patrol, I'm filling in for class 3A. Fortunately, I didn't have to supervise the other classes because they were doing hero training, support training, and Gen Ed was on a field trip. I looked at the roster and saw that I had Hado, Mirio, and Tamaki in my class, so I thought, so now I had to babysit the big three, sounds fun. Hello class. I said as I entered, I'm your sub, Izuku Lunar, known as Lunar Sensei during class. Izuku, what's up? Mirio called, quote. Who is that? I inquired. He clarified, sorry, I meant Lunar Sensei. Don't worry, I understand that it's challenging, particularly because I'm officially a first-year student. I will be correcting you today, I stated softly before becoming serious. But after today, I won't be so lenient, do we understand? As the class replied, yes sensei, I remarked, okay, let's get into the lesson now, and I began to instruct. After a day. Once more fortunately, I wasn't filling in today. Yesterday was difficult, however, I had the impression that today would also be a bother for some reason. Momo was driving her limo to school when I ran into her on my way there. She waved back when I did, but that was the end of our conversation. I sat down at my desk and waited for Uncle Sho when I arrived at school. As was typical, the class was chattering loudly, but today I didn't want to participate and instead chose to let it happen. It took you 4 seconds to shut up this time, you're improving, but you need to be faster, he said when he finally showed up. Yes sensei, was their slightly sarcastic response. Sensei went on, either because he didn't notice or because he didn't care. He went on to say that we needed hero names, so he called in Midnight to accept or reject them before we could proceed. Aoyama followed with, the sparkling hero. I can't stop twinkling, first. Why don't you make it the sparkling hero, Twinkle King, Midnight? Why yes that is simply perfect, he replied. Bakugo used, explosive hero, King Explosion Murder as his next choice. Midnight replies to Bakugo, no way, too vulgar and sounds more like a villain name, plus it has the word murder in it. TCH whatever, he replied before taking a seat. The acid hero, Alien Queen, was the next person Ashido accompanied. Midnight answers, why don't you try Pink Queen? It's simpler and less dubious. Okay. Smiley face was her reply. The rainy season hero, Froppy, was Sue's next name. The entire class appeared to exhale with relief at that moment. The strangeness and uniqueness of the other students' names seemed to worry the entire class. The sweets hero, Sugar Rush, was the next statement made by Sato. Next up was the tentacle hero, Tentacle, by Shoji. Great choice. Next, Midnight gave his approval. The creation hero, Creata, I hope to do this name justice, was the next statement made by Momo. You will bring that name justice and then some, it's a great name, next, remarked Midnight. After she returned to her seat, I came up to introduce myself and praised her on the name, saying it was a terrific fit. The power hero, Awakening, that will be my name, I declared. Awakening is a tribute to the power and training I received from my teachers, who selflessly trained me for 5 years. As I presented my name, I believed it was a tribute to the strength they provided me to keep going and make my commitment unshakable. Midnight remarked, perfect, absolutely wonderful. With that said, next. Izumi stated, the powered-up telepath, Dekiru, as she appeared next. Next, simple but effective, she said. Everyone eventually completed reciting their names, and Midnight departed. Aizawa then got up to show us a screen with large numbers on it. Midoriya Izuku, 5232 Momo, 2342 Kirishima, 1997. 1995 Todoroki Bakugo, 1, 1875 Iida Tenya, 100. Kaminari, 56 Izumi, 55 Asui Suyu, 17. Before I discuss these numbers I need to inform you about internships, Aizawa replied. The what now? Interrupted Kaminari. Be quiet Kaminari and let Aizawa explain. I am so sorry for the interruption, I replied. Okay. Well anyway, internships are a 1-week training opportunity to train with pro heroes. However, in order to go to the place you need to have a request form, he replied, but for those who don't we have a few pros who will take you in regardless of how you did. For those of you who have your name up here, these numbers next to your name are the amount of requests you have for internships. Internships are the reason why we pick your hero names this early, but honestly problem children, I've never seen a pool this big. Mina said, no way, this sounds awesome. Your internships are next week, you have to have submitted your form by Friday before class, so don't waste any time deciding, so good luck. I then approached Momo and asked her who she was thinking about, and to my astonishment, she replied that she had already chosen. I turned to find that she had chosen Uwambi, who was by no means a bad hero, in fact, she was a very strong one. However, I was certain that she could have made better decisions. Look again. Please Momo, you barely looked past the first page you have, but you have 2,000 offers. Please look it over. She began, but I don't think I should. Uwambi is a well-known hero, in fact I don't think she should have chosen me, I am not. I ended our conversation. You're right, you placed first in the sports festival. Look Momo, there is a time when it's good to be humble, but that is not the case now. In fact right now for your internships you should try to be as selfish as possible. You are more than enough to be trained by any of the top 10. Okay? Good, now look it over. Okay. I will, was her positive response. I then approached Tenya. He departed while I was officiating because the pro hero Ingenium, who is his older brother Tensai, was gravely injured, so I wanted to check on him. I asked him, you holding up okay? I don't understand what you mean. Can I help you Izuku? He answered. I'd be a pretty terrible fanboy if I didn't know Tensai got hurt. I know you're his brother, so I just want to make sure you're holding up. I respond. Guess that's TR. Wait, how did you know he was my brother? I haven't told a soul. I don't care if you're a fanboy or not, you won't be able to have known, stated he. Really? Again, I'm a serious fanboy. I know the name Iida from the long line of heroes your family has been in. Plus your quirks are so similar it's kind of obvious. Also, you're clearly not a fanboy like me, yet you idolize him. So now I'll ask you again because I care about you Tenya, how are you and your family holding up? He finished by wearing a phony smile that only I could see. Fine, fine, you win, I'm doing fine. Thanks for your concern, I was just surprised that you knew my lineage is all. Thank you again, you are a true friend and classmate, he said. Anytime, but just know if you need someone to talk to I'm here, okay? I'll keep that in mind. Come with me after class, I want to show you something, and you won't fool me with that fake smile. I did the same for 10.5 years, and I know a fake smile when I see one. I then muttered to him quietly as I'm leaving. He was obviously shaken by my ability to read him so well, but I knew I had to intervene before he did something foolish. Momo approached me as I was getting ready for lunch and asked if I may go with her. I said yes. We kept talking during lunch, and to be honest, it was great to hear more about the person I was crushing on. Lunch was done and we had to return to school by the time it felt like we had just begun conversing. To be honest, the rest of school was dull. Since it was standard classroom procedure, I either slept through every lesson or was compelled to assist the teacher in order to aid the kids. However, it was worthwhile when I assisted Bakugo and he was unable to stop me or respond. I emailed Momo as I was leaving to ask if she would want to spend a little time at my house with Iida and myself. I simply waited for them both at my car after she said, yes. Hey Iida, long time no see. You ready? I inquire. No, I would like to know what we are doing, responded he. I'll tell you in the car. We don't know how many people could be listening in. Just kidding, there are 6 of them, which a graduate would have noticed, but we actually have 13, I said. He was interrupted as 6 shadows moved away and 7 more came toward him. Wah. Well, looky who we have here, some street thugs, huh? Great, I needed a warm-up, I replied. We won, began the figure in the center. I answered, yes, you are a warm-up, and all 7 of them were on the ground at once. Oh, okay, was their response, and they fled. Now leave, and you 3 that you thought I didn't spot, run or come out, I said. Running, one of them exclaimed. You win this time, child, but next time you won't spot us. Yes, I will. I returned the call. Iida inquired, so what was that? Oh, just some people who want to know my secrets so they can get stronger and take out heroes. Don't worry, they're all just a bunch of thugs with no power trying to get some by finding out how I got so powerful. Nothing more. Now get in the car, don't want to keep Momo waiting forever, I responded. Okay. Wait, you never said anything about her coming? He said. Don't shit yourself worrying about it, the personal stuff she won't be around for, but for part of it, she will be, including helping you do this. I advised you to establish a Rasengan. He answered, oh okay. I guess, great, now let's go, smiley face, I grinned. Following that incident, I took Iida to my house and showed him how to activate his own chakras, which would allow him to speed up tenfold and perform previously unfeasible tasks that would be useful, like running on water to reach a crime scene sooner. I informed him that we needed to first grasp the fundamentals, such as how to use chakra at all. I promised to train him so he could use it to aid Ingenium by making him stronger. I instructed him on what to practice. I trained Momo with her Nen while he was training, and after she eventually mastered Ren and Gyo, I took the apprehension test and discovered that she was a conjurer. After a while, I noticed that it was 8:15 p.m. and decided to call off the meeting. I made sure Momo got in safely after dropping her off first. After that, I started driving in the direction of Iida's house when I stopped and parked in a random lot. He questioned, why did we stop here? Drop the act. We're alone. I know that hatred you're bearing, and I need you to not turn it into catching Stain, because what happens when you go after him and something goes wrong and nobody knows where you are? Look man, just don't do it. We can get revenge when the others take him out, and we can watch him rot for the rest of his life in jail. Watch him regret what he did, and regret messing with pro heroes. Okay? I request. I see your point, I'll think about it, he replied. Okay, I'm not going to push farther because it's personal, but just remember I'm here for you, I respond. It remained quiet for the remainder of the ride. I made another attempt at small talk, but it was never comfortable. I approached him when we arrived at his place to make sure he wouldn't face consequences for something I had done. Why are you coming? Am I really that suspicious to you? He responded. No, I just want to make sure your parents don't harass you for something I caused, answered I. Then he said, if you say so. Look dude, I buried the hatchet. I said that I won't pester into that business anymore, as well as I won't go looking into it. I'll leave your actions up to you. I'm just here to make sure your parents are okay with me being with you this late. After all, it's 8:57 p.m. right now, so I'm just following you this once, okay? Okay, sorry for misunderstanding, it just was off how you wanted in my personal business when we've never really talked. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to see you go down the same path as one of my teachers who was claimed by revenge and almost went and destroyed a city for it, I replied. He inquired anxiously, wait, what? Then why did we never hear about it? 'Cause he's from a different dimension, he shouted. Oh, wait, what? Yeah, I'll tell you later, but now let's get inside. Fine. Iida and I approached the door and pressed the doorbell. The person who opened the door, whom I assumed to be his mother, noticed Iida and asked him right away where he was. I'm sorry ma'am, I should have told you, but I heard what happened to his brother and I wanted to see how he was holding up. I also offered him a bit of speed enhancement training to help him feel more confident. I stated as she was lecturing me. And who? Wait, you're that kid. The one who has an insane quirk that took some insane training to unlock, she said. Yes, I am. Again, I apologize for how late I'm bringing him back. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. After all, we are friends, I said. Okay. I'll forgive you this time, but I'm curious, how do you know of his brother identity? Ida didn't tell anyone, she inquired. Honestly, I know your family has a long line of heroes. Then I took that knowledge, then saw the resemblance in their quirks. Then I saw how Ida idolized him while being the complete opposite of me, a fanboy, on everything but Ingenium, so I connected all the dots and realized they must be brothers or cousins, but I guessed brothers and Ida confirmed that he was unintentionally, I respond. Wow, you're one impressive kid, connecting all those dots and realizing it without any help from anyone, she added. WLT, thanks for the compliment, but honestly I don't deserve such praise, I replied. Well, thanks again for helping Tenya here, and I hope we can meet again, but he should get to bed, as should you. By the way, how are you going to get home, as well as how did you get Tenya home from the other side of Mustafa so fast? She inquired. After pointing to my vehicle and removing my identification, I remarked, that would be the ride that got us here in such a short time. She began, how did you acquire this? You shouldn't be able to apply for a license. I respond, to answer your question, by the way, sorry for interrupting, but I get it a lot. I have a friend who set me up when I ran away when he saw what hell I had been through at my old house, and he taught me how to drive, make money, and get settled in a new place to hang until I could afford my own stuff. And that got me everything I have, but the cars came from his friend who, after telling him my story, he gave me these. I tried to turn them down, but he insisted and wouldn't let me leave without them, so that's how, as well as how I have such a nice car. Okay. I guess, well, have a good night, young man. The name is Izuku Lunar, and thanks again for understanding. I'll take my leave now. I went home and got into bed after that. The remainder of the week flew past. I had a great time hanging out with Momo on Thursday, but I couldn't help but blush when her mother began making fun of us for being a couple. I buried my sentiments and did my best to minimize her mother's antics because I liked the girl but didn't think she felt the same way. Iida was able to call his chakra and perform a transformation after I helped him train a little more on Friday. I then showed him how to walk up a tree and instructed him to practice it in order to develop some basic chakra control so that we could proceed to walking on water. However, I cautioned him against trying to advance until he could do it effortlessly, as doing so will make it nearly impossible to walk on water and increase your power and ultimately take longer. In an attempt to return to where I was before leaving the training camp where God had trained me, I trained myself to the bone on Saturday and Sunday. We arrived at school on Monday and ended up at the train station. After reviewing her page, Momo was given a spot with Edgeshot. Iida chose a hero internship with Manuel before our conversation, and he appeared to have calmed down a little. I chose to accompany Kamui Woods. Gran Torino was Yagi's tutor at All Mights, albeit it was most likely for some OFA training. Another surprise was Uraraka's decision to travel to Gunhead, an action hero, whereas Uraraka had aspired to be a rescue hero. Other than that, everything appeared to be as usual wherever everyone went. Abara Shiozaki, a student in Class 1B, was present when I got to Kamui's house, which startled me. Because of her peculiar resemblance to Kamui, she seemed to be the only one to receive an offer. In an attempt to shorten the time it takes me to activate my elemental change powers, I mentioned that I was interested in finding out how he works with his wood. When we got there, we found out that he was going to Hosu with a couple other pros, like Edgeshot, in case Stain was around. He would primarily explain patrolling to us and his other internship duties. Basically, we were presented the fundamentals for our entire first day at Hosu. He trained us the second day, but to be honest, it was surprisingly simple, even his own training for improvement. Nevertheless, I had the opportunity to observe how he used his power, and I asked him if it was like an extension of his body or if he connected with the earth to draw out his power. He said both. He went on to explain that, although using his quirk was like having an extra leg, for his large attacks he feels connected to the earth, which gives him the extra boost. We conducted some patrols, training, and practiced interacting with locals today, the third day, and everything went smoothly. It was a simple day overall, but I was happy to see what a typical day looked like. Explosions were detonated throughout the city as it was coming to an end, and Nomu people began to go on the rampage. Oh no, I thought, and I immediately instructed Shiozaki and Kamui Woods to hold my hand as we teleported to investigate. I teleported to the center of the city, where the largest explosion was, right away. When I asked Manuel where he was, he didn't even aware he was missing. I ran and spotted him there, but Iida wasn't. It's worse than I anticipated. He most likely discovered a stain, and his rage is likely roiling right now. Alright, so Iida is using his quirk to fight Stain without authorization. I'm not allowed to go, even when the heroes are fighting these Nomus. Use a clone, but I'll be in a bad spot if he somehow vanishes. If I send a clone there, I'll be caught off guard. There's no way this could get worse. Hey Kamui Woods, would you mind if I leave and leave 3 clones to help you here? I need to stop Stain from killing one of my classmates, I request. Why would a classmate be fighting Stain right now? Stain doesn't pray after children. So why would a classmate go looking for Stain? He was plainly perplexed. Because his brother is Ingenium and he wants revenge. I got him to drop it in class, but when the attack happened he figured Stain would be around as well, so he went looking for him. Anyways, thanks, and I gotta go, I respond, leaving behind 3 clones. I was unable to be a second later as Stain was swinging his sword forwards Iida's chest while mumbling loudly about how he cleansed another false hero for All Might. After that, I used the mark one had placed on him to teleport to him. After kicking him away from Iida and smashing his blade into pebbles, I remarked, should I delight you about something? Ingenium is more of a true hero than All Might. With hatred in his voice, he yelled, and just how is that? And how would you know, you fake? Because Ingenium is a humble, kind hero who strives to do his best for the city even if his fight doesn't get mentioned by the media, while Ass Might as a person is a bitch who hates the quirk less. Picks favorites, and almost always does things to boost his fame even more. Did he ever talk about how he had a son and he neglected him for 10.5 years because he was quirk less? His twin sister and his ex-friends bullied him and he didn't notice or care. In fact, he had to buy his own clothes, medication, food, and supplies since the age of 4. Were you aware of that? I asked. Not believing me, and how would you know that? I say, because I am that child. You lie, you just want me to stop what I'm doing. If I did, I couldn't do this. Genjutsu. Users passed, I said. He fell to the ground after a short while, and I closed his eyes before healing Iida and Native, who had also been attacked. As I tied up Stain and walked out of the alley, I made 2 more clones and had them take the injured Native and Iida. Iida inquired, what's wrong with Stain? He's living in my childhood, feeling what I feel, hearing what I hear, every beating, insult, incident and torture I went through from age 4 to nearly 15 years old. He will wake up in another few minutes. For him it will have been 10.5 a year. For us it will be 45 minutes, I respond. Native replied, why do you make it seem so bad? It couldn't be that bad, your parents are All Might and Telic. I calmly reply, forcing my anger down, I haven't had parents since the age of 4. I had to work to buy food, water, clothes, electronics, medication, set up appointments, and train myself since the age of 4. As for what I said earlier, look at Stain, he's probably been in there for just over a year and he's crying his eyes out, they're swollen, also he's bleeding. Keep in mind, a punch in there, its effect on his real body would be like a soft tap, so the fact that he's bleeding semi-badly after 1 year should prove to you what my childhood was. At that moment, a party of 4 heroes and the 3 clones I had left behind, led by Kamui Woods, came charging toward us. When he realized that everyone was well enough to stand, he was relieved. Native was unable to walk, but he was able to stand. He glanced at the restrained man. Holy shit, you really were fighting Stain? That's Stain? A hero asked. Another hero remarked, there's no way this kid didn't get scratched yet and is Stain's unconscious. The third hero asked, wait, why are injuries showing up on him? Okay, calm down everybody. Yes, that's Stain, Manuel. He's in a genjutsu, that's why injuries are appearing. In this genjutsu he's living in my childhood from age 4 to 14 and 7 months. But Kamui, you remember when I showed it to you, I stabbed you with a blade in that world, it felt real, but as soon as you left it felt like you got a soft punch where the blade was. Well, that's the dampening power he has on, but he's living 1 year and 4 minutes, so his body isn't recovering as fast. But then again, if I only had a few scratches and bruises every day from my bullies, then it meant it wasn't even lunchtime. So yeah, he's having fun. Also, he can't move his body to change the past, so he just gets to feel, hear and be subject to the torment, replied. What kind of kid are you to survive that? And yay, that hurt, you couldn't have been a bit softer? Kamui inquired. I could have, but then no one would be able to draw how much pain he's going through in order to have those bruises and tiny cuts appearing. And the reason why I thought this would happen was because Iida was in Hosu and was near Stain, so if he heard him he would charge in after him and that would lead to this, so I needed to prove what kind of hell I lived in, I murmured. So just how are you okay? Any other human would be scarred and mentally unstable, said he. I had 20 years to stable myself. I trained for 20 years in some pocket dimension where 20 years there is 10 months here. However, you only age as fast as you would in the real world physically, so I used that off time of training to embrace my past and all the pain it brought, then learned to use it to fuel me to be better and finally move past it. That's how, replied I. The heroes offered me their condolences when I explained, and I told them it wasn't their fault. They then began to depart and ensure that all of the Nomu were captured. Be careful, yelled Manuel. As a Nomu flew toward Kamui and me, it attempted to capture me but failed, then extended its talons and seized Kamui. Oh no you don't, I respond, lighting style, Chidori. I dashed up the building, sprang, and severed the Nomu's talons. I muttered, Shadow Clone Jutsu, HYA, as I threw my clone to capture Kamui. Following that, I safely landed on the building across the street, and my clone sat down on the original building. You're not getting away, Mangekyo Sharingan, Kamui, I scream. Kamui Woods questioned, what the hell just happened? He's in my pocket dimension now, and no it's not the one I trained in for 20 years. Mine isn't that advanced, mine has a 1-to-1 ratio for time passing. Also it's pretty bare, just some green blocks as the floor, and endless blackness up and down, I replied. One of the heroes asks, kid, is there anything you can't do? You mean other than have a good childhood? I respond with a joke, all jokes, but now I'm going to release him and I'll need you Kamui to use your wood to snare him, got that? I inquire. He answered, okay, sounds good. After spitting out the Nomu, I said, great now, Mangekyo Sharingan, Kamui. After Kamui swiftly captured it, Yagi, Gran Torino, Shoto, and Endeavor showed up. Thanks for that Kamui for capturing the Nomu. Wait, is that Stain you caught him too? Endeavor asked. No, the credit goes to Izuku here for capturing Stain and the Nomu. For the Nomu he caught him in his pocket dimension before he got away, he just had me trap the Nomu when he let it out, and for Stain he was captured when we arrived, Kamui replied. Asking, kid, is this true? Yay, but Kamui you praise me too much, you probably could have caught the Nomu just as easily, said I. No wa. The Endeavor began. Kamui interrupted him and said, kid, I wasn't able to avoid that monster's attack to capture me while you avoided it with ease. Then you prioritized saving me, which was the right decision. Then after I was safe you caught the enemy. I wasn't giving you enough credit honestly. Gran Torino remarked, kid, you're too humble, just take the compliment. And it sure has been a while kid, said he. I answered, it sure has Gran Torino. After that, the heroes aside from Kamui Woodsa moved across the city saving lives and apprehending the remaining Nomu, while Kamui Woods and I went to deliver the Nomu we had just captured and Stain. We engaged in small chat the entire trip. Kamui and I got the chance to connect at that period and grew quite close. We began referring to one another by our first names and shared some wonderful stories and laughter. I was going to be jailed for using a vehicle illegally after we dropped Stain down at the station, but I saved the day by presenting my license. Then the police chief, a mix of a dog and a man, appeared and began to interview them. The chief asked, how did you get your license at such a young age? Sir, I may be young but I've been an adult since the age of 4, answered I. He inquired, what do you mean? At that moment, the remaining officers entered the building and began to listen in. You can ask Stain here when he wakes up in about 2 minutes, but simply put the only thing that an adult has to do that I didn't do from the age of 4 was pay the electrical, water, and monthly purchase bill for the house, I replied. Who were your parents? And why were you working and subject to treatment at such a young age? He inquired. My parents are my parents and I was subjected to that treatment because my twin sister had a quirk and I didn't, so they spoiled her and forgot about me, I claimed. If this checks out then they're gonna have some serious consequences for their actions, remarked he. I questioned the officers, did they ever let you into Izuku Yagi's room when you were looking for him? No. Why? Was their response. Because it was filled with bandages, blood, peeled drywall, a broken bed, and a busted up desk, responded I. He questioned, and how would you know that? Did you not watch the sports festival for UA? I'm Izuku Lunar, but 1 year ago I was named Izuku no last name, and 11 years ago I was known as Izuku Yagi, answered I. What? Exclaimed all save one. I watched the sports festival, these guys didn't cause they were on patrol and didn't have the time, said one cop. Well, we can report this to the authorities in Mustafu, and see if it's true, added he. You won't find it like that anymore. It's been 7 months since they found out. When they saw my room they probably started renovating it, so if I told the police to search the place they'd come up empty, and they're not going to admit it because of the repercussions. As he continued his probe, the chief questioned, well that sounds about right, but still how are you still sane after what happened to you? I murmured to myself, God damn it, this question again, and added, easy, I had 20 years to regain my sanity. What was that? Inquired the chief. Me hating that this is the 10th time I've had to answer that question, I responded. The chief questioned bewilderedly, what question? The one you're gonna ask soon about how I had 20 years to regain my sanity, God fuck. The chief said, language, OSHT, I exclaimed as King materialized at my side. The leader began, watch your mo, you called? King interrupted. God damn it, I need to watch what I say, and God no I didn't mean to call, I responded. When I said that, everyone in the police station, including Kamui Woods, burst out laughing. Some expressed dissatisfaction at their inability to breathe. I muttered to him, sorry, King, before saying, what is so funny? For God's sake, just shut up. What do you mean by God? Inquired the chief, who was the only one not to laugh. King said, removing several papers, he means this. This is your paperwork that I fill out while your mommy is pregnant with you, for example your quirk, facial features, birth date, and more, he responded. An officer cynically remarked, yeah, and I'm Santa Claus. Okay, if that's what you want, poof, he uttered, ho, Merry Christmas. An officer said, dude, it's not even close to Christmas. The officers then turned to see where the officer was, but he was now quite obese and had a big white beard. They questioned, the hell? What kind of quirk is that? Oh, you want to visit hell? You sure you have to die to do da? God please. Stop pestering them, their officers, for your sake as well as mine, and turn that dude you turned into Santa back, Izuku exclaimed. And he said, fine, Kamui muttered, now I understand why you started swearing as soon as you said God. Yeah, he goes overboard way too much, seeing as he finally got a break after the whole nose arc, World War I, World War II, and WWII. And so much more off his plate, he can finally have free time, and being so disconnected left him playing practical jokes every time I summon him on accident. I get stuck in this mess scenarios. I reply. You heard that, Izuku, I'm embarrassed, he responded. Don't, it's his fault, he didn't have to come, he knew I didn't mean it, but he came to play some jokes and have some fun, I said. King whispered to us, you two know I can hear you right? I pointed at the officers and replied, yeah, but they can't. He uttered, true, inquiring, so you really are God? The chief. His response was, yup. What of it? Why does the brat act like your parent and can summon you? For starters, he replied. Yeah, about that I can't summon him, he just likes to appear when I accidentally say God, knowing he can cause a ruckus, and for the whole parenting part the dude is like a kid at a candy shop when he's here, because usually he's in his office working his ass off making sure the world stays in balance, but if he wanted to he could shut me up and actually act like a god. I responded to his inquiries. Okay. I guess, was his reply. Now I'm leaving, we've been here for long enough, I captured Stain and you idiots weren't listening, he's been up for nearly 30 minutes now, I said. Officer. Oh shit, the kid's right. When I approached and treated his broken bone and all of his minor wounds, the police made sure he remained in custody and were about to start questioning him. That's me saying sorry for being so brutal, I snapped. When you thought my childhood was so merry and cheerful, I remarked as I left. You are a true hero, you deserve being number one for all you went through, said he. No I don't, people like Ingenium who don't harbor as much hate as me deserve number one. Good luck, Stain, now I must leave, I said. Officer, I'm going to confess, Stain stated. He was obviously startled that a criminal would voluntarily and readily confess, yet he nonetheless began recording. My name is Chizome Akaguro, better known as Hero Killer. Stain L, and my goal was to eliminate fake heroes or heroes who only seek fame and fortune but don't care what happens to those who are attacked in the background because they won't get anything in return for saving them, so they go to a scene that will give them attention. I learned that I was misguided in my judgment because some of the heroes who I thought were pure were unruly people outside of their hero personas, while some people I thought were terrible fakes were true heroes. Take Ingenium, I thought that he was a terrible hero but could be saved, so I didn't kill him, instead I injured him, but I've learned that he is more of a true hero than All Might himself, so to Ingenium and his family I'm truly sorry, and thank you Izuku Lunar for showing the world's true heroes before I killed, injured more true heroes. So in conclusion, I Chizome Akaguro admit to killing all the heroes I was accused of killing and admit that I am a true villain, he finished. The authorities were unaware that I had recorded his testimony in case it was changed to lengthen his incarceration. And cop responded, we got it, the streets are safe. 5 days later, time jump. Momo Pav, during lunch, Mina said, guys, check out the news, I know why Lunar isn't at school today. Really? I inquired, my curiosity piqued. Yeah, Mina responded. Now I'm here with Izuku Lunar, the man who took down Stain during that unfortunate incident in Hosu, as well as saved his instructor Kamui Woods from Inomu, the reporter added, as she handed them her phone. I'm here to reciprocate one thing that Stain had right, he was definitely misguided and was a real villain, however he was right about the fact that there are fake heroes out there. What I mean by that is if there was a robbery downtown and pros were on scene but they noticed a girl being dragged not too far away, most heroes would turn a blind eye to the girl knowing she could be kidnapped, abused, raped or worse. However, let me make one thing clear, the way Stain handled taking care of those heroes was the incorrect way, and it ended with him losing track of his vision and ended with him targeting true heroes without them proving able to prove themselves. You heard the man, but I must ask, why would you want to tell us about the fake heroes? Knowing that you could influence others to be misguided? The reporter responded. Because of what's been going around the internet and being kept under wraps by the government, but basically it's a recording before Chizome changed and stopped being Stain. The message was him dealing with a true fake villain and how he said he would stop him so he could get recognized for stopping a villain. This upset a lot of people and inspired a lot of villains. So I'm here to let you know there are a lot of fake heroes, but our top 10 as well as a lot of underground heroes like Eraserhead, and many more are true heroes. There are some Endeavor All Might Telic who aren't the best people towards their family or friends because of their ego, but as heroes they are great people and deserve where they are. And on behalf of Chizome and myself Ingenium, I'm sorry I couldn't stop Stain sooner and he put you in the hospital, I stated. The reporter was obviously looking for a better story when she asked, a true hero through and through. But I must ask, you speak of true heroes, yet rather than going out as a hero now you decided to take our interview. Does this make you a hypocrite? I wonder. True, but I promised Principal Nezu that I would do my 3 hero training years before I go on the streets on my own so I could learn to be less reckless. How to deal with impossible situations, and gain experience the right way rather than jumping into action with minimal training and experience, meaning right now I would be training or hanging out with my friends, not going around the city to hold up to my promise. Also, I was going to reject this and I was about to, but when I saw the Stain video and how many villains it was creating because of that one hero's words, I came on to stop the misconceptions about most heroes. Izuku calmly responded. So then why did you run away? You say you're working on being a true hero, yet you ran away from your perfect little life so you could selfishly get stronger on your own, the reporter said, using her trump card since she was being shut down on all sides. Zuzu's face was obviously marked with a tick mark, and I started to worry about him because I knew they had touched a sensitive spot. When Kirishima noticed how angry Zuzu was, he inquired, Yo, what's up with Lunar bro? You just watch, I pray for your safety, reporter. Shouldn't have hit that nerve, I responded. Is it really that bad? Lunar bro is always more laid back and hard to piss off unless it has to do with I guess that and training, replied Kaminari. They all said, yeah, simultaneously. I answered, trust me, this is bad. Mina responded, all right, let's just watch. Why yeah, was my reply. As the reporter asked, so what's your answer? My answer is that place wasn't a home that was safe for a presumed quirkless child. I'm going to tell you all about my childhood, then you tell me if you would have left, replied the man. Izuku's perspective. I was irritated by the reporter's inquiry. That girl's nerve was astounding, but I won't fall for her ruse. Try to trap newcomers to discover their true motivations as heroes. This is the first guideline of the press. Many have fell for their ruses and became unknown D-listers or sidekicks. After a few seconds I calmed down and state that, when I was 4 and found out I was quirkless, at first everything was great. For the first 2 weeks nothing changed, I was treated no different than my sister. But after 2 weeks my parents started listening to Izumi more and more. And me, you ask? Me, I was slowly started left alone. It took 3 months before they barely acknowledged my existence anymore, 3 months for them to pretty much forget I exist. The only time they would speak to me was during dinner. But when I came in bruised, broken, cold, or burnt, they turned a blind eye and didn't notice. Another month passed and now they wouldn't even cook enough dinner for me, now they only cooked for their spouse and Izumi. I was 4 and starved. When I noticed that I grabbed stuff from the fridge but then was scolded for eating stuff that was supposed to be for lunches for them. So I had to eat out of a dumpster for the next 10 years of my life. After another month from when I stopped getting dinner, I realized that things would only get worse. Keep in mind at this point in time I was a 4.5-year-old brat. It was also around this time that they stopped caring for me when I was sick because Izumi was more important. They also never bought me clothes anymore. During the next few years that was how bad it was, but they would still take me if they went out of town but never took me to the places they went. So from then on I had to fend for myself. I did chores and went weeks without food so I could buy bandages and medicine and clothes for myself as well as buy my uniform that was destroyed by my bullies in school. When I was 8 years old my family went missing for 1.5 weeks and I thought they finally abandoned me, but when they returned I found out they went out of the country for the first time. They went to California while leaving me behind. That is when I truly started hating them. From the age of 4 I subject to torturing training so that I wouldn't be hurt by Izumi or Katsuki. At 8 was when their worst didn't hurt and barely left a scratch. Of course I continued to act like it hurt because if Toshinori or Inko found out I was stronger than their pride and joy they would say that I gained some power and I needed to give it to Izumi. At 8 I also then started to learn how to fight on top of my training I put myself through so that way I could be the first quirkless hero. During physical exams I faked being wiped after a small workout for a middle schooler, like 7 push-ups 20 squats, could barely last the 50 meters run and always kept my grip strength under 20 kilograms. In reality at this time I could do 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and run 50 kilometers before breaking a sweat. But I continued to train so I could show them all up when I got into UA. But then it got worse. It got worse. Toshinori and Inko decided it was best to give their child a phone. That was when they finally forgot me. They started to tell people they had one child only and that it was Izumi they didn't know I was around. I almost committed suicide 3 times, each time being saved by a stranger. A goddamn stranger. Someone WHO didn't know me saved me while the people WHO did drove me to do it. Not once was I stopped by someone I knew or even was acquainted with help me. When I was 10 my parents used my room as a storage room and put random shit all over the place forgetting I lived. During this time I got a proper job and used my fanboy knowledge to become the #1 info broker in Japan. Wajirerta Midori. Forgotten Green. I solved 5 murder mysteries at the age of 10 to survive. I had doctorate levels of academic skills at age 10 all to get attention that I lived, but no, not even the teacher saw how much smarter I was. At age 11 I bought an apartment and lived in it every other week so I wasn't in that hellhole 24/7. I stayed because I believed that one day they would remember, so I stayed. By age 14 I only came back if I needed to. That's when I found out my parents hired a pro hero to teach Izumi to fight, and when she asked about me they said, "Who? Oh yeah, he doesn't need it, he can't become anything anyway, just forget about him." That was their response. That was what they thought of their own flesh and blood, and that was when I ran away. That was when I left, and it took them 5 whole months to realize I left. 5 whole months they didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Oh, and you know what the best part is? It wasn't even Inko or Toshinori figuring it on their own that realized I was missing. It was one of Inko's friends who asked how I was doing. They haven't hung out in years, but she was worried how a pretty much stranger to her was doing. She knew I was quirkless and was wondering how I was doing, but when Inko didn't know she started to realize what she did, I guess, and wanted to apologize so she could stop regretting her actions, which probably would have left me being neglected again. That is why I ran away, and that's why I'm happy with my house that I have now as well as my living is. Now this is where I would stop, but when they found out I was attending UA they tried for weeks for me to come back with them. When I said that I wasn't ready they tried forcing me, and I had to get the principal, homeroom teacher, and a few others to stop them, and that was after the principal told them that they were not to try to pull any stunts when they were given access to UA to try and apologize. What's worse is that they never tried to look for me, they just asked for the police to look for me and have him back home when they found him. Ooh. I just remembered how once I saw them when I was coming back to town, how I followed them for a week and they just acted like I wasn't missing, and this was after I had been missing for 2 days after they realized I was missing, meaning it took them less than 2 days to forget about me again. After hearing my life story, do you think you'd still be sane enough to believe that you could survive it? Stain didn't believe it, so I showed him, while wearing a dampener in damage, that a cut through the heart would feel like a small punch in the heart to your real body, and he still broke a few bones and had some serious cuts and bruises. That's how broken up he was, and the reason I'm not showing it to everyone right now is that I'd give you a 6% chance of surviving the torture, and 1% of those who survived would have fewer than 5 serious injuries. This is a status for both soldiers and civilians, so I'd say you would all end up like Stain, with a few broken bones, a ton of bruises, and other injuries. If even a 1/8 of this is true, then kid, you're one tough nut. And thanks for catching Stain. Please become a great hero when you graduate. With that, that's all the time we have left for today. Good day to you all, and we'll see you tomorrow on Hero News, said the reporter. I then said my goodbyes and thanked them for the chance. As I walked out of the building, I said, "It's time to head home." Flying Rajan, lightning style, and vanished. I saw a lot of worried expressions on my students when I stepped in after teleporting to the mark just outside the classroom. Well, that's just another pain.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, bye bye.